Okay, everybody, we've got about 2 or 3 minutes to start. Normally, our sign up for comments is up to the time the meeting starts, but because we're going to be in session in the back for an hour, I'm going to leave the sign-up period open until we come back out of executive session and reconvene the meeting. 2 minutes to start, council. Take your seats, please.
Stranger. Where am I at? Anyway. Oh, there.
Doug, are you a prayer? Well, I know Terry's good. I want to spread it around. You want to pray and do the. Okay, Terry, would you pray and do the pledge for us, please, when we get going?
Always.
I appreciate that. Okay, Tracy, we need you. Make sure your mics. Turn your mics on. Hold it till it's wide up.
I like our flags. Isn't that nice?
Hi, Tracy.
Hey.
You good?
That's 3 fans.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order here, get us started. Want to say thank you for not just the council showing up, that's reassuring. People actually came back, but also to our handful of citizens. Hopefully there'll be more of you. We, again, intentionally moved this to a larger platform because during the election season we heard, you know, we don't like the little building, and I'm like testing the community on that. Now, so far they're not like impressing me on showing up in mass, but maybe they'll come in late. I don't know, but we're giving people the opportunity here to come out and be heard. Okay, we are not bringing the secretary to the meeting for the foreseeable future, not because she does a bad job, but because we burned a lot of hours during the election cycle because we were required to be open, and it turns out the mayor's allowed to call roll and establish quorum and all that. So we're just trying to save some money and be a little bit more efficient here. So I'll go ahead and establish quorum. Me, Mayor Mike Jaffe, I'm here. Councilmember Terry Fowler.
Here.
Councilmember Tom Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Doug Kendrick.
Here.
Councilmember Tracy Hibbs.
Here.
Councilmember Dale Bryant.
Here.
Okay, all present. Quorum is established. Councilman Fowler is going to lead us in the pledge and the prayer. Please stand.
If you'll join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'll bow your heads, we'll pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for this time that we can gather and do town business, Lord. We just continue to pray your blessings over this town, over the elected official, over the citizens, and everyone who passes through, Lord. We just thank you for clear minds, and we just ask that you give us open ears to hear and help us to be willing to listen and do the work of this town. Lord, we just pray your safety over each and every one here and as they travel home, and we just ask that you be with us throughout this evening. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Terry. I'm going to remind us we are streaming, and we have some people that are joining us from afar, so council members, please speak into your microphones. If you can't hear yourself in the room, they can't hear you at home, so please speak nice and loud so they can hear you. Okay, so as noted on the agenda, we have an executive session. We started a little early. That's a little too much. We started a little early so that we could do our regular meeting part at the time that most people are used to, which is 6:30. But officially, the meeting is starting now. We're going to adjourn in just a moment into executive session, and I'm going to read the little paragraph here I have to read. The Town Council will convene in closed session pursuant to Section 551.071 Texas Government Code. The topic is consultation with attorney, town attorney, to consult with and receive legal advice from town attorney regarding legal training. So we have some training that our attorney provides to new council members and to refresh it for the rest of us at the beginning of each new council group. And so he's going to provide that. We talk about OMA. We'll kind of summarize that when we come out. It's nothing top secret or anything. It's just sort of how to behave as a council member and how to keep from doing stupid things. Because when we sit up here in our official capacities, we have to behave and say things very differently than when we're just out in the community being normal people. So we need to be told that so that we don't do silly things. We're also going to talk about the lawsuit. If you remember a few meetings back, the leaving or departing council members were updated on the current state of the suit against the town. The new council members did not receive that briefing, so tonight they're going to receive that briefing and be brought current. And then we're going to spend a few minutes talking about the town map. And again, when we come out, we will we'll give you a summary of what we discussed. So with that, I'm going to stop this part of the meeting. We'll move to executive session at what time? 6:35?
5:35.
5:35, sorry. And David, if you'll kill the sound and put the executive session on the screen. Yes, so as far into the room, take a right, take a left. We're going to be middle school kids tonight.
Yeah, John. Good.
Back in school, Tom.
Oh,
Got the little chairs and everything.
Al, being married to a second grade teacher, I never left.
Back row.
Do you want me to turn them on? Test, test.
Got it?
It's on. Test, test. test, test. Okay. Test, test. Test, test. Test, test.
Is the air blowing over there hard?
Pretty good.
I'm,
Is it blowing on you?
oh, yes. I'll have to use this as a blanket.
See if. Okay. It might not be as hard over there. No, it's coming straight down this.
I know. Chilly. Hey, Laura. It's a mess.
So that's the update on minimum. I appreciate it, and I agree. I made sure I got that info, good?
Dale. Need you.
Yeah. But we can do
Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order and in session at, what is it, 6:49, I guess? Wrapping up our executive session. So, in the executive session, I'll give just a brief overview. We talked, as we said on the agenda, about 3 topics. One was training for the new mayor and council on legal topics. We talked about, conflicts of interest and open meetings compliance, which governs everything we do. Parliamentary procedure. I mean, it was just kind of an overview of how it is that we're obligated to conduct ourselves up here. And that's the regular training. We've had that in the past, so this is nothing new. And we try to get that in at the very beginning of the new council's term. So we talked about that. We talked about, the court case, the lawsuit against the town. Again, this council had not been briefed yet on the status of that lawsuit, and so we talked very briefly about that, just so they kind of know what's going on, because it affects the entire town. Okay, a little hot there. And then finally, we talked about the map of the town and just some concerns that a couple of the council members had about the map, and nothing specific, and none of those topics did we make any decision. We aren't legally allowed to make any decisions outside of the view of the public, so rest assured we didn't make any decisions or take any actions or any of that. Just some things were raised about the map, some things were raised about the lawsuit, questions were asked and answered, and that was the extent of that. So anyway, we move out of executive session. Okay, David, we're way hot.
He said, go ahead.
Okay. Can't tell if it's my hearing aids or the speaker. Okay, so items of community interest. I tried to capture a few little things there. Let's see, thanks to, again, we're going to talk about our 3rd annual agricultural scholarship winner tonight, and I want to thank both the ones that said they donated, but also the ones that were anonymous for donating to that very worthy cause. I want to thank Councilman Kendrick and Bryant for helping during some of the recent storms clear some trees out of the road, and also Councilman Anderson, the Kirby family, and Bill Carter, who's a local resident, for helping me and some others clear trees out of another road that was nearly impassable during one of the storms. I also want to publicly thank our Hunt and Kaufman County Commissioners and their teams for their willingness to help us with our roads. They're really showing, I think, some just great encouragement about wanting to get out and help us work on our roads, and I really appreciate that, because I think that's the leverage that we're going to have against our road situation for the foreseeable future. You know, we don't have a lot of money in the bank, and we don't have a lot of other ways to solve that problem. We have a grant in the works, but that's off in the future, and that's not a general purpose. That's going to be for very specific things. So in the meantime, we're going to have to really get creative on road repair, road building, and rebuilding, and I think the counties are going to be a big part of that. Okay, so from there, we're going to move over to reports. So in the packet, I included a couple of reports there. Now, I've had a number of comments back that, well, there's no June end report, and I did have a conversation with Teresa, our secretary, and who does our accounting, about that.
Actually, you mean May. end report.
May end report, sorry, May. Yes, I stand corrected, May report, we're in June. And anyway, so if you look at the sales and use report for the council, it was included as the same piece of the document. For the citizens, you wouldn't know the difference because they're all one after the other. But basically, after the sales and use report is all of the information about the money that was spent for the month of May, and shows, does this not? Yeah, it's on the tax one on the first page. It shows our road fund balance, which is currently $65,583.59. Our general fund balance, $46,849.30. Our bank balance as of June 1 was $112,432.89. So that was all the money we had in the world in June. And you can see the individual expenditures. Any questions from council on financials? We also have, let's finish that one and I'll go to the next one. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, move over to the actually, I think I did them backwards there, didn't I? Yeah, I did them backwards. Okay, so swap that. So the sales and use tax, I put as the second item, so that was the one that I just discussed. And then prior to that is the accounting of where we are against our budget. And if you look at the top left of the document there, it says 6/6. So this is the day that this was pulled out of QuickBooks. And again, back to the May end report that we're used to seeing. We did not produce that this month, and the reason we didn't produce it is because as I talked to Teresa about it, we were actually rekeying the information out of QuickBooks into a Word document, and we had run into problems over the last few years with that information being typed in incorrectly, not because anybody meant to, but just mistakes in typing. And so what I've got Teresa working on is I want any financial reporting we do to come straight out of and as a product of QuickBooks. I don't want it to be us doing math on a separate sheet of paper and then hoping the paper adds up. I want it to be a report that comes out of our accounting system. I'm a big fanatic about results being not just accountable and accurate, but also being reproducible. And when you start reading numbers off a screen and typing them into a Word document and going back and forth, you start running into issues with that. So going forward, these reports will look different probably starting this next meeting. We'll try to come up with a format with council's input, and if citizens have requests, they can certainly include those or share those with us, but a report that will come straight out of QuickBooks so that we know it absolutely ties. Because when Teresa, and I'm not a QuickBooks person, so you probably know a lot more about it than me maybe, when she puts all of the numbers in and checks it against things like bank statements, QuickBooks won't let you leave until everything matches, right? It guarantees that everything is going to tick and tie and match. And so the beauty of staying in it is you can be comfortable that you did everything right. If you don't, it flags it and creates all kinds of problems. So again, back to reporting. Reporting should come out of that. So on the sheet that's headed up profit and loss budget versus actual, this is an accounting, even though it shows the entire year. Because it was generated on the 6th of June, it's an accounting up to that point in time, right? So it's not the whole year. So as we look down the various budget categories and where we are on budget, it's up through June 6th. Now, the one that I would call our attention to is that we're running a little hot on is the secretary's salaries. I think as most of us are aware, we were required by law to keep the office, the town hall open a lot more than normal during the election season. And so we had secretaries in there 5 days a week where normally we don't have that kind of burn. So we got a little bit hot our secretary account, which is why the last few meetings, we haven't had a secretary present at the meeting. We're not required by law to have the secretary. She generates the minutes off of the video, not live from the meeting. And so I'm trying to cut back on that burn on the secretary's salary, and I'm also trying to use their time to help us sort of organize and improve the back office, right? So that we can tighten up some of our accounting stuff, some of our filing stuff, some of our website stuff, and public information stuff. I mean, we're just trying to tighten things up. And so I'm really trying to get them focused on the back end of the business and not so much on the upfront. So it's not that they're not here because we don't like them. I do like them, but they're just, I'm allowed to do this without them being here, so I'm taking advantage of that. Any questions on either of those two financial documents? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. So for the benefit of the new council members, the consent agenda is a place that you put things that you don't think are going to be controversial, that you think are pretty self-explanatory and routine, but you always have the ability to pull items off of the consent agenda, move them to the regular agenda for a full detailed discussion. But on the consent agenda, there's not intended to be any kind of a detailed discussion about it. So the first item up is the minutes from the May 22nd special meeting. We've got the May 29th town hall meeting. We've got two invoices for Hunt County elections for the cost of the election we just came through. We have a bill from Nichols Jackson, our law firm, and also a bill from BHC Engineering. Do we have any motions or?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like, if you would, please request 5 and 6 for my information. I need to find out.
Okay. So we have a request to move item 6 to the regular agenda.
5 and 6.
What?
5 and 6.
5 and 6, okay. Any others? I'll call those 0 on the regular agenda. We'll put them at the top. Do I have a motion to,
I make a motion to
Okay,
add
well, let's-
5 and 6 to the regular agenda item.
6?
5 and 6 to the regular agenda item.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay. Everybody in favor of moving item 5 and 6 off the consent agenda to the regular? In favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, and that was Tracy and Tom. You made the second?
Yes.
Okay, so we have to deal with the other items left on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve those?
I make a motion,
Items 1 through 4?
we approve items 1 through 4 under consent as is.
Okay, do I have a second?
Point of order, can we do them all at one sweep?
Yes.
Okay. I'll second then.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 1 through 4. 5 and 6 have been moved to regular. All in favor?
Yes.
Doug?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have to practice this. Have Tom, Terry. Okay, so we will move to regular agenda. And get ready with my speakers here. Okay, so let's do, I'm calling it regular agenda item 0, which is, I guess it's 0-5 and 0-6, I'll call it. So the first one is approved Nichols Jackson legal bill in the amount of $967.50. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, Council, for me, being a newbie, if you will, I just kind of wanted to follow up to make sure I'm on track. Was this particular bill, was that already brought before council and approved, or is this a new invoice?
No, so I got a little confused at this too when I read it. I had to pull some back material. So at the May 13th meeting, we approved a legal invoice of $4,461.25. That was approved and that has been paid. That check has gone out. But the check only went out very recently.
Okay.
And so on this invoice, we have that balance carrying forward. So it looks like we owe them $5,500, but we don't. Our outstanding debt or balance to the law firm is $967.50. And I did split it out on the agenda here. $215 was towards the lawsuit and $752.50 is just other legal.
So we just need to approve the 967.
Exactly as it says on the agenda, $967.50. That's what we owe them right now. Everything else is paid up.
I
Make
make
a
a
mo-
motion to approve the 967.50 legal bill.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Tracy, or by Hibbs, and second by Anderson. All in favor of approving the legal bill?
Yes.
Doug? You awake? Agree. Okay. Unanimous? Takes a while to get this routine. This is, bear with us here, for both me and for the new council members. This is not normal stuff. Okay, so the next one is 0-6, approve the BHC engineering invoice in the amount of $2,152.02. Discussion?
What was the total, did you say?
$2,125.02. It's
Okay.
a June 3rd invoice.
Mayor and council, again, being the new guy and getting things done, and the reason too is, we're going to start working on a new budget. And so I wanted to see up to date where we're at, because again, I thought maybe this invoice, is this an up-to-date one, or is this one that already been presented?
No, this is a current one. I looked back on this one as well, and we paid the prior one. It was, I think, roughly in this same price range. But no, this is a new invoice that has not been paid.
Yeah, because like I said, fixing to do the budget, just want to see where we're at and what we need to start projecting for our new budget. So I certainly appreciate that.
Yep. And so the discussion is around approving the bill. We don't want to get too much into the details on it. So any more discussion on approval?
Make a motion to accept the bill.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Tom, a second by Doug to approve payment of the BHC invoice in the amount of $2,125.02. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Unanimous, and we're making noise again. Okay. So we move down to the regular agenda item 1, which is to nominate and elect a mayor pro tem. This is typically something that's done at the very beginning of a council's season, and this will be done each year. The term of the mayor pro tem is for 1 year. Anyone on the council other than myself is eligible to serve in that capacity. The mayor pro tem is there to both assist the mayor, but also to stand in for the mayor in the event that something happens to the mayor and you need someone to run the meeting, or to go out and represent the town in some official capacity. So it's a pretty important role, and certainly can be a huge help to the sitting mayor. So any discussion? We're going to have some citizen comment, but let's kind of get the conversation started so they know where we're going here. Any discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor, I make a nomination to Terry Fowler as Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
I second that nomination.
Well deserved.
Okay, so we have a nomination of Terry. Do we have, we're not going to vote. We'll hear the citizens before we vote, but do we have any other nominations?
I would nominate Doug, and the reason is not against Terry, but he's retired, as you are and I am, but it does take time, and I think Mr. Doug would have the time to do it.
Okay, we have a motion to nominate Doug. Do we have a second on that? Okay, calling for a second to nominate Doug. Okay, hearing none, that motion fails, so we've got one nominee. Any other nominations before we move over to citizen comment on this agenda item? Okay, so asking to speak on this topic, I have Robin as the only one. Does anybody else think they signed up to talk about this? Okay, Robin, you're up. It's actually in there. It's on the agenda too.
So Robin Followable, we were doing all that, where we have our address and all that stuff too, 10658 County Road 2400. I would have nominated Terry as well. I do think Mr. Anderson has a good point about, Doug doing it. He does have, municipality experience and all that, but yeah, Terry was going to be who I nominated. So I just think that would be I think y'all work well together. Y'all have been on the council together. You kind of already know each other the best and how you work. So I think Terry would be an awesome nominee for that.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Okay, again, anybody else have an opinion on this that wants to speak before we vote? Okay, hearing none, I call for a vote. The motion on the floor is to select Terry Councilman Fowler as our Mayor Pro Tem for the next year. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, congratulations, Terry. Okay, so regular agenda item 2, I'm going to turn it over to Terry. You have the certificate in there. To Terry and Tom, who assisted me. We're on the topic of our 3rd annual agricultural scholarship finalists. And Terry and Tom and myself spent a little time sort of reviewing. We had 2 entries, 2 people submitted. Again, we had a total of $1,000 donated, which I know isn't going to get the person all the way through college, but you know what, $1,000 is $1,000, so I'm very grateful for that. I know they will be too. And we made our selection, and I'll hand it over to Terry and Tom here for a couple of minutes to kind of talk about that in awarding. Make sure you're on microphone so they can hear you, please.
So we're still in our infant stage of giving these, and I hope this continues to grow, but the community has supported our efforts in trying to support agriculture as we say we want to. We had 2 applicants, and we all reviewed the transcripts, and we have selected Shaylee Reed as the 2-time recipient, correct? And if you want to come up here, we'd like to present you a certificate, and I'm not going to tell you how the check's going to get in the mail, but I have a pretty certificate, so. Tom, you want to say something?
Yeah, I guess I just point out, you want to be, you're going to A&M, you want to be a vet, and it's a long, hard road, and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so, good luck, and appreciate everything, and
Super proud. And
absolutely.
She's a Portrait resident, and she's a graduate of PCC.
Out of this school.
Yeah, so they have produced a good student. Thank you very much.
Let's take a, congratulations. Let's take a picture.
Good luck.
Take a picture so we can,
Yeah, let's get you in the middle. Come up here.
politicians never pass up an opportunity for a photo. Come on, council, we're all behind it.
So,
Do you get the picture? No pressure, no pressure. Yeah, look over there, then look over there.
good job.
Okay,
Thank y'all so much.
congratulations.
Yeah,
It won't get you far, but
good luck.
Thank you.
good help. know, before we leave that topic, because former Mayor Sinkovich is here in the audience, I do want to say that the Ag Scholarship was a bit her brainchild, and I do very much appreciate, you know, the role that she played and others supporting her in creating this, because I do think it's a good cause. You know, we say we want to be an agricultural community, and I think things like this help to encourage that. So it's not a huge amount of money, but it just kind of makes a statement that, you know what, we want to encourage people like our winner tonight that are out there, you know, trying to keep those professions alive, because I don't know, the world is a strange place for agricultural stuff right now, but that's a whole nother sermon. Okay, so moving on to agenda item 3, Dale is going to give us, so as you may or may not be aware, back in June of last year, it's been a year, hard to imagine, the council discussed and voted on purchasing quite a few signs to basically re-sign poetry, because it was brought to our attention, and some of us knew, we have a lot of uncontrolled intersections, we have a lot of unmarked roads, and we just have a lot of shortcomings in the area of proper signage. And I think, as for me at least, I know when I travel around, I sometimes don't even think about how important signs are to keeping me on the right side of the road and pointing the right direction and everything else, but they really are. And so we decided to spend some money, and the council back in June of last year voted to spend up to $5,000 to purchase stop signs, speed limit signs, street signs, you know, county road, and some historic signs. We got lead line because that was requested by a citizen. We do have those signs as well, and we have them. They're all sitting in town hall in the closet along with all the brackets, but of course now there's the business of putting the signs up. And so where I weighed in on this was, you know, we've spent the money. They're beautiful signs. Tara did a great job of picking them out and putting logos on them and all that. I want to do that justice, and I want the signs to be properly installed, right? I don't want to just nail them to T-posts and hang them from tree limbs and all of that. This is one area where I want to look like Heath, okay? I want the signs to be straight. I want them to be the same height. I want them to look good. So I asked Dale, we are way hot, David. I asked Dale if he would assist with that project, which initially looked like it was going to be us begging some of you to come out with tractors and posthole drivers and help us, but I think Dale has some good news, so I'll let him give us an update.
Okay, yeah, we've got a ton of signs that we've got to put up, and the signs are the cheap things, the labor's big. We didn't know what the standards were for signs, you know, the left side of the road, right side of the road, the heights and things like that, so I approached TxDOT. The counties didn't really know what they really did or how they did it. There wasn't any real standard. So I went to TxDOT, the area engineer out of Greenville, and in that process found out that there is a program where TxDOT will actually help small communities with life safety type issues. And obviously signage is a life safety issue. So last year, just the good news is, last year they didn't spend all the money they were given by the state. This year, the area engineer says, I've got to spend this money or they're going to take it away. I said, well, I got a deal for you. And so I approached them, and so what I've been doing is taking these signs, and part of that process is, hey, we have the signs, we just need help. Where do we put them? What's the height of where we put these signs? And so that's what they're looking at. So what I've done is gone through every road, and I go through and I write down notes about what needs to be done. Some signs need to be taken down, some signs, you know, every intersection, looking at that. So our approach is right now, they're not going to be ready for this until September. They spend the summers mowing grass, cleaning ditches, things like that. So they're going to be ready to go in September. So my approach is, let me get everything done. Let me put it all on a map, number it, organize it, tell them exactly what they have to do on every intersection, and kind of give them that information. from a standpoint of, hey, this is a community that's got their act together. They've done a lot of our work for us, because normally they come out to an area and they do all of the research and study about what needs to happen. And of course, we have a map, and so now we'll be able to label everything, let them know everything we have to have done. And it's a lot of work. Now, we may still have to go in and kind of clean with weed eater type things and clean up that area where that signpost is going to go. So with any luck, it'll be September, October, November, fourth quarter. But with any luck, the state's going to come in and hopefully help us put these signs up. And they go out to third-party contractors, so the state doesn't do it. So with any luck, we'll have signs by Christmas.
Now, Dale, did they talk about, one of the things we lack and could amount to a fair amount of money is the square posts that these things screw down to. So will they provide posts, or do we know?
Yes, it's my understanding they're going to provide posts. Now, they have, I think, a different, if you've ever seen any of the Hunt County posts, they're square posts, and they have a different attachment for the sign. I'm not quite sure what TxDOT does,
Well, we don't care. We'll
and we
take
don't
our own.
care if
We
they're
don't care.
providing it. Right, and we're doing that. The other thing we need to understand that we have a lot of private roads, okay? And I think from a disclosure standpoint, since this is a life safety issue, what we're proposing is that we provide signage for the private roads if that private road touches a town road. Does that make sense? And so, because in a lot of the private roads, quite honestly, citizens would go out and do things, so there's no standardization of that at all. And so we said, well, if we're going to put up the roads from a life safety standpoint, that we need to include those private roads. So we just want to kind of disclose
Well, and
that.
for the sake of sticking to the agenda item, we're not going to make a decision tonight on that. We'll bring that back as a separate item when we get closer. Right now, we're just in the planning
Right, we
stages.
just want you to know
That
that
is
that's what we're
certainly one
looking
of the things being discussed is,
Yeah.
Do we abandon and, we'll leave it at that. I
Yeah.
don't want to get into the discussion
Yeah,
because
we're
it's
not
not on the
discussing.
agenda, so. But very much appreciate Dale taking the lead on that and identifying some possible funding and labor. I mean, it's all great to have us pitching in, but I'd rather be pitching in on a barbecue or something rather than driving signposts in the middle of the summer. I'm out baling hay, so I'm hot enough. Okay, signed up to speak on agenda item 2 is Robin. Do you have any pass? Or number 3, sorry. Okay, anybody else have any burning thoughts on signage that I'm happy to give you a little slot here if you want to jump up and say something. Tara? We're trying this out, by the way. If everybody behaves, we'll let this happen. Otherwise, we're going to go back to rules. Please.
Okay, so that's great news. TxDOT, that in my experience is, I'm sorry, I should have stated my name, Tara Singovich, Poetry, Texas.
Thank you.
Dale Bryant, thank you for that. TxDOT has been amazing to work with in my experience. I will say, though, on the private road, if I did consult the our legal attorney about it when I was trying to order those. So we already have some private road names, so they're in the stash. You may not have seen them, but they're in. If it touched, was in the town boundary, we're allowed to, apparently. So they're already in there. So.
Okay, good. Thank you, Tara. Okay, so any final discussion from council on Dale's amazing discovery and project? Again, we'll bring it back to a proper agenda item when we get ready to commit funds or commit decisions or any of that. We're not deciding those here. But we did agree to buy the signs. We bought the signs. We came in a little under budget, I think. We were, I don't know, 4,500 or something. We approved 5. Now, in fairness, we may need to buy a few more, but if we exceed that, we'll come back to council for further approval. Thank you. Okay, hearing no other discussion, we'll move on to agenda item 4. That is to discuss and take action as necessary on an updated Town of Poetry decorum and procedures policy. You'll notice I'm also putting, and Tara had started this for us, but putting the name of the sponsor of the agenda item. So the little name in parentheses there is who asked for it to be on the agenda. So this is something that I asked to be on the agenda. So the discussion is open on the topic of updating our decorum policy. You've got copies of it, made a number of edits. You've had the opportunity to compare it to the existing one. The existing one is posted on the website. It has been for quite some time. And there weren't a lot of changes. Tracy actually worked together with me on some of the edits, so she can remind me of areas that I've forgotten that we changed, but I don't think we did anything sneaky on it. We just kind of cleaned it up. I remember one of the things we did up at the front, under the second whereas, is we added that it's consistent with the laws of the state of Texas, Municipal League, parliamentary procedures, just reminding all of us that here at City Council or Town Council, we follow parliamentary procedures, which are mostly Robert's Rules of Order. So that was just kind of adding a little extra clarity.
See, Mike, yeah, I have some questions.
Okay?
On page 4, item F, which says members of the public provide the opportunity to make comments for 3 minutes. Is this, it doesn't say, is this at the beginning of the meeting or at the end of the meeting? Or is it in each agenda item?
Well, so if you come at the bottom of the page, right?
Item F?
Right, so it starts out, the town council procedure for the consideration of an agenda item is as follows, right? So each
Yes.
item, so this pertains to each and every agenda item,
Okay,
different from general comments, which are at the end.
and then G is again, you're asking, it says mayor presiding officer may ask for final comments from the public. You mean on each agenda item?
Well,
Is
it's
it
what I
correct?
just did, so I allowed.
Well, no, I'm just trying to be
Right,
clear.
so that's basically what it covers.
Okay.
It's just providing clarification and structure around that.
And then on page 5, at the top, item L, which says, Mayor presiding officer may ask for final general comments. Is that the general public comments? Is that the title?
Yes.
So it should say general public comments. And then as it continues on, after all agenda items are voted at the end of the session, under general public comments again,
Okay.
right?
I think we can use general comments and general public comments interchangeably.
Well, we could, but I don't have an
We
issue
can
with
check,
editing.
yeah.
It's fine. So, okay, so we've got those two clarifications. I've added the word public
Okay, then
times.
my next question on page 5, under vote of council, first paragraph under vote of council, it says, a supermajority vote, 2/3 of council, 4 votes, may be required for certain agenda items. What are the certain agenda items that you're thinking about?
Well, and I started to put some extra clarification. We actually talked about that in our training we had earlier. There are some things, I think, I want to say, well, maybe former mayor can help me. I want to say like P&Z, and there are a few things that are so important that, and they're called out by TML, and our lawyer is going to rein us in when we get to one of those items, but it's not at our discretion whether we require a regular majority or we require a super. It's a law, and there are certain items, and I can go back and list what those.
Like property taxes would be one of those.
Yeah, there's a few things that require.
Okay, well, just to be clear, then, it's not something that you or anybody would say it's a legal issue for you.
It's as determined by law. It's not.
Okay. Then under appearance for, before town council, agenda item, quote, citizen comments, is that, again, general public comments?
Yeah.
So it just needs to be corrected?
Provides the opportunity for any member of the public to speak on any topics on the agenda during the general public comments. Agendas may also make comments on any item. No, I don't think it's the same. I think it's
Different.
different.
It's a different?
Yeah, because when we say on the agenda, when it says here at the beginning, I put in the persons wishing to speak on any posted item, blah, blah, blah. That's what that's referring to, right? That's ahead of the regular agenda. And then the general comments is basically right before the adjournment, right? So that's at the end where they can talk about non-agenda items.
Okay.
We're not allowed to act on them, but we can consider them for future agendas.
So then L would be correct as it stated. It would be general
Yeah,
comments and not
I think it's
public.
correct. I don't think it's.
And that would be at the end of the meeting or the beginning of the meeting?
No, it's the reference to it in the first part, agenda item, citizen comments provides the opportunity. That's during the regular agenda item discussions. And then if you go down a couple lines, it says during the general public comments,
That would be
agenda item, because that is an agenda item. Just before adjournment,
Yeah,
there's an agenda item called general comments,
okay.
general public comments. It's G on tonight's agenda. And so that's a different section. Okay, other comments?
So to that point, I think that section L was written correctly because it is consideration of an agenda item. So L would just be general comments. You could put citizen comments if that would help lessen the confusion. If you just want to say citizen comments instead of general comments. But that whole section is under consideration of agenda item.
Right.
So we wouldn't add the words public 2 times in the
That's
section
true,
L.
that would be confusing.
My only edit, which come from the email that I'd sent you and doubled down tonight, the September 1st starts the new notification. I think we could go ahead and include that now under the section Town Council Agenda and just go ahead and start practicing that now. So just so everybody knows, the state legislature passed their deal. It's 3 business days of notification. They took out the 72 hours and added 3 business days. So a Thursday meeting without a holiday, any of those Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesdays would have to be posted on Friday for citizens. So if we go ahead and change that now, we won't have to
What
change
page?
it in
Remind me what
September.
page
It's
it's
on
on.
page
3
3 at the
business
top.
days.
3
Page
business days.
2.
Yes, no later than 72 hours prior to a meeting, okay, so we'll change that to 3 business days.
Yep. So if we have a holiday that falls Monday, Tuesday, then we got to back up.
Well, in the law, I read the legislative piece today, or, no, maybe it was what David sent me, but it said basically it's not, yeah, it's 3 days prior to the meeting, because I was thinking, well, if it's in the morning, does it need to go in the morning, or if it's in the evening, because it's not hours anymore, it's
He
the day.
clarified the day.
Yeah.
So
So it has to be
Monday,
posted
Tuesday,
on
Wednesday
Friday.
would be the 3 business days. Thursday doesn't count as that business day. That's why he said.
Right, so
today
full days.
It's a full days.
So if we rewrite that to website no later than 72, so we're going to rewrite it to 3 business days prior to a meeting,
Right.
okay? I have that amendment. Others? Doug, Tracy, Dale, any comments?
No, we're good.
Tracy?
I think we're pretty good.
Okay, I'm gonna sit on that for a second, and let's go to our customer.
Customer comments.
You can tell I was in customer care. Our citizen, you are customers. Okay, so we're on number 4. Okay, I'm going to go to the top of the list here. Jonathan Blake, please.
Jonathan Blake, Poetry, Texas. These decorum and procedures were also updated October 17th of '24. That's not reflected on the website, but I would like to see it listed in the resolutions, just so we have a history of that it was going on there, because we're not following the current decorum as it was stated in October 17th, '24. Also, there's a section in there where it gives up the council's power to decide where we're going to meet and gives it to the mayor. I just want you to know that you're advocating your decision to the mayor, and that's fine if that's, oh, I can hear me.
They can't hear you on TV, maybe.
I just want to know that you make sure that that's what you really want to do, is to give up some of the power that you have.
Jonathan, let me interrupt you just for a second. Can you give us the page number that you're speaking of
Page number 4.
on the decorum that you're talking about where we give it?
Well, I have the minutes where it was, where we changed the decorum on, let
too. Here are two.
I'm not sure if I understand the question. What,
Just keep going, I'll figure it out where you're going.
Well, it's at the top. I think what you're talking about is regular meetings at the top of page 2. It says, regular meetings of the town council will be held on the third Thursday of each month, beginning at 6:30 at the Poetry Town Hall, or at any place that the mayor may direct. Is that what you're referring
yes,
to?
and
Okay.
currently, the council has that decision, you know, which I think it's good that the council discusses what's going on and can make that decision. It's not, I mean, that's what we've been doing it, and it seems to work fine.
Well, and just for the record, that's not a language change. I mean, that's exactly out of the last version, so.
Well, the last version's October 24th,
Okay, well.
or October 17th of 24.
Okay, so I may stand corrected. I'll leave it at that, because I probably compared it to the one that you're referring to that's not the most recent.
It's not the most recent.
Okay, so noted.
And then, if you're going to the 3 days, how soon does the council going to get this now? Because that's going to, you're going to need to get it earlier, maybe than the 120 hours, for you to have enough time to review it, because you've pushed it up.
Well, good point.
So you may want to, I mean, because it's stated in there, 72 hours for the public and 120 for the council. But if it's 3 days for the public, you may want to consider changing the language to reflect, days, and with enough time that y'all have time to see it before it goes public, so you can make your corrections.
So noted.
And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan.
So just to clarify on that, because that was my amendment to the 120-hour notice, that was for council to get it before the weekend, so we would have time, give us 5 days. So if y'all want to rewrite the language where they come out at the same time or earlier, I can just tell you that was the initial thought on that, to give a working council more time to review the documents.
Well, if we get this on Friday, that gives us plenty of time, don't you think?
Well, you got it on Thursday this time, so, but I don't disagree with Jonathan. I think his point is well made, so I would be in favor, because I think I can make recommendations too, of changing the 120 hours to 5 days. So 5 days for
business
council,
days?
5 business days.
I mean, that just, yeah, I'm good with that. That's just,
I mean, I'm already working on the July
There you go.
agenda, so,
Thank you.
I mean, we're trying to back
Okay.
things up so that we take pressure off the secretaries and
Okay.
others, so.
yeah, as long as
And
you
if
feel
it ain't
confident
in
with it.
time, it goes on the next meeting, period. We're not, so 5 business days, I'm perfectly happy to commit to that.
Okay.
And then the citizens, and to me, it's a no later than,
Yes, sir.
right? Because the citizens actually got the packet on Friday, or they could have gotten the packet. I mean, I don't mail it to you, but you could have gotten it off the website Friday evening. We're trying to exceed a little bit, just bring it back, just to help us focus on business and not finding scraps of paper. So I would recommend, again, along with the amendment to change the other to the legal compliance of 3 business days, to change the council to 5 business days. Okay, we have some more discussion here for Rose Ingram. Okay, thank you, Rose. Tara Sekovich, former mayor.
Okay, Tara Sinkovich, Town of Poetry. Mr. Jaffe has always been a gentleman, for which I'm grateful, and I think the addition of the certified agenda is probably a good idea. That way citizens know for sure that the mayor has signed off on all items. But I am concerned about something. Apparently, it was brought up before, but I noticed that the council gets to deliberate on an updated policy. The mayor decided to change it for this meeting. So we've had this on the agenda 6 times, but this is the first time it was changed before a vote. So that is concerning. The council might decide to allow comments at the beginning instead of the end, or all of the above. Maybe they want to do something else. So I just think it's inappropriate the mayor alone do this prior to a vote. The mayor's the leader of the town and should adhere to the current policy until the council decides to change it. The advantage to having citizen general comments at the beginning is, of course, the citizens do not have to wait through a long meeting to say what they want. They can also speak to maybe the financials or the minutes if they feel a need. I had a correction that I wanted to mention, but I didn't get the opportunity. The advantage to having them at the end, of course, is those who get off work late, for example, still have an opportunity to speak, perhaps. The late Evie Anderson's research, most municipalities did have it at the beginning. They found that worked the best. It might be that the council would want to have it both. I'm not sure. I am disappointed to see that the entire paragraph encouraging community service among the council members was removed. If I remember correctly, there are many of you who ran on being a public servant. So the fact that it was taken out of this rendition that provides an important standard for all of our council simply flies in the face of that. The rebuttal to this might be that it's something that they automatically do, and I know many of them do, and I said, but the thinking here is then if this is conduct standards, so why have any of it? I think the citizens deserve to have these things in print. Also, it's the way we keep costs down is to encourage volunteerism. So the council is the leadership of the town, and if they're wanting to be servant leaders, by golly, I think this policy should say so. So, that's all.
Thank you, Tara.
Thanks.
Okay, Robin Followwill, next up.
Robin Followwill, Town of Poetry. So clarification on one thing, that they were saying that y'all weren't following the correct one that was from October and that it wasn't on the website. That's not y'all's fault that hasn't been on the website since October. Well, Blake said it wasn't on the website. Okay. We all know that y'all are going to do volunteer work, all the extra things that we've talked about. I get it, it's not listed, so it makes it seem like y'all aren't going to volunteer or do anything for our town, which we know is completely false. I'm just going to be nice, and that's all I'm going to say without pointing out some other stuff and slinging mud.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Okay, continue the deliberation on the proposed update to the Decorum and Procedures Policy. Going back over where we are on page 3, at the top, we're changing the agenda packet, getting to council members. We're proposing to change it to read 5 business days to council and 3 business days to comply with the law to citizens. I think on page 5, we landed on L being properly worded or worded correctly, general comments in the context that it's written. And I have no other changes. Any other discussion? Any other changes councils wants to see? Okay, do I have a motion?
Yes, have a motion that we approve the resolution as amended.
Okay, I have a motion. Looking for a second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion by Dale. Sorry if I go back and forth first and last names. I know you as Dale. Motion by Councilman Bryant, second by Councilwoman Hibbs. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all against? Okay, we have 4 in favor. Dissenting vote is Councilman Anderson.
And let's call that opposing.
Opposing, sorry.
Okay. Just a little formality.
Okay, you know, it's just for the public's sake. I mean, I appreciate all of the comments were made, and they're so acknowledged. You know, it is, I don't know, I know we used to get excited over the last 4 years when everything was unanimous, and I think unanimous is good, but I don't think it should always be expected, right? I want people some comments were made earlier, Terry and I get along well, we do, but I'll tell you, we've had as many arguments as we've had agreements, and I don't even hang out with Terry very much, but that's healthy. I grew up in a world where it was okay to disagree with people, so I have no issue with Tom or anybody else disagreeing with something. I think that's good. I think that's what we need to do, and it's part of the process, so. Okay, closing out agenda item 4, moving on to agenda item 5, discuss and take action as necessary on placing $3,000 in escrow with Hunt County for road repair work. There's a project sheet. Now, I will confess that as I was pulling my material tonight, I realized that I left the wrong little letter on the one of the project sheets, so somebody can get up and scold me for that, but it doesn't change anything else about the agenda item. So we have 2 agenda items. We're going to talk about Hunt County first, but as you can see, the item below at 6 is identical, and I'll kind of give the setup on this, and I don't really need to, because unless you're a shut-in, you've driven our roads, at least to some extent around here lately, and unless you're on our state highways, you realize our back roads, our county roads, are in a bit of disrepair right now. And, we need to get after fixing them. And again, we've got 2 county commissioners that are ready to help, and they've made us some pretty incredible offers of, doing it as quickly as they can and at a fair price. But the problem we're having, we have 2 problems, and we'll have a separate discussion in a future meeting about roads. But the gist of road issues is that anytime you get any kind of a crack or an opening in a piece of pavement, the road is going to start falling apart, because you cannot have water in the underlayment, right, of the road. Once that crack appears, whether it's a pothole or just the surface of the road starting to shatter, you're going to start losing the road, and that's what's happening. I know my road, Tara's Road 2326, is just falling apart right now. Tom's Road is falling apart. 249, 2458 is falling apart. I mean, there's holes you could lose small cars in, and we've got to get after it. Now, in a perfect world, we want, and I have citizens telling me every few days, they're demanding they want a new road, by golly, and I would love to build them a road, as Tara would have loved to have built them a road, but unfortunately, roads are very expensive, and because we don't want a property tax, and I'm in that group, we don't have a lot of money, right? So patching is going to be how we stay alive for a while. And so we're going to have to, Tara's husband, Kevin, for many years now has run the volunteer road crew, and that was some great fellowship, but, it's working poor Kevin to death and other people, and we've got county guys that are willing to do it, and they'll do it at the same price as if we go buy the stuff ourselves, but they'll use their machines and their labor and all that. So I think it's a heck of an opportunity. The problem I'm running into, I've only been in this for, 5 weeks or something. We've been seated, and I've probably got, I don't know how many phone calls, as I'm sure Tara used to get, about fix my road and buy me a wheel and pay for my tow truck and fix my Jeep and, all kinds of things that we're not going to do, because if we started that, we'd be in big trouble. But we do need to address the roads, and so what happens is I see, or a citizen sees a pothole in a road, calls it in, and I say, okay, I'm going to get a quote from the county to fix that pothole, or typically it's a long stretch of road. They're going to give me a quote in a few days or a week or whatever. I'm going to put it on an agenda, on a worksheet, as Tara's been doing with us for years, and I'm not criticizing her at all. I'm just proposing we pick it up a little bit. The council votes on it, and then I go back to the commissioner and say, okay, I got approval. Well, they have to take it to commissioner's court. And for Hunt and Kaufman County, I believe they have 2 courts a month. So they have to get it approved by the judge. And then they get it on the schedule of their people to come out and do it. Well, you're talking about like 60 days. Well, potholes are like chickens, right? In 60 days, they make a lot of new ones, right? So in 60 days, the landscape has changed, and now I don't need them to fix $500 worth of potholes. I need them to fix $1,000 worth of potholes, because they've like reproduced, and they're all over the place. So Tara had started us way back when in the prior council of this idea of putting money in escrow in the counties, right? That one keeps us from having to run checks back and forth, because they've got money on account in each of the respective counties, and they know how to keep track of that, because that's the way they work with other entities. And then giving me, is what I'm asking for in this agenda item, the discretion between council meetings to issue work orders or POs or whatever we want to call them, we'll hear the council's input, to do repair work as it's needed, right? In other words, shorten the cycle time so we can get on this stuff quicker. So if 2326, for example, starts to fall apart, and I know I've got money on account, I can call David Monroe and say, hey, can you do a pothole run from this end of 2326 to that end, give me a quote on it, get on it as fast as you can after I approve the quote, and then I'll come back to council at the next meeting and say, okay, and we'll track it in QuickBooks. Here are the work orders or POs or however we want to handle it that we've issued, and here are the detailed repairs that have been made. So the idea is, and I kind of think, and maybe I'm delusional, I don't know, but I kind of imagine if we were a bigger city and we had a city manager, we don't, we're not gonna, so don't get excited, that city manager would have a budget for roads, and that city manager would have discretion to go take care of the roads, but he would be, of course, accountable to council for the money expended and all, but he would have the freedom. And so I'm not saying give me the checkbook and give me free rein. I'm saying help me, help you, help us by being able to get onto the roads quicker, because we're in the road repair season. This is a really good time to buy hot asphalt because it stays hot. When we get into the winter, they're not going to want to fix roads. They're not going to be able to fix roads. So like the next few weeks, it's going to be sunny. I'd love to be able to call both commissioners and say, hey, get on to 249. I've got a quote on 249 to repair 249 from Hunt County to 986 for $2,100. That's all in. That's put the edge back. That's fill all the potholes. It's not making it a new road, but it's making it a whole lot better than it is right now. That's a heck of a deal. I'd like to be able to take advantage of that deal. So this proposal is intended, but I've been sitting on that deal for weeks now because I had to wait for council to approve it. So again, this is not a judgment of Tara or anything that we've done in the past. We've been doing the best we could and trying to keep up. I'm saying let's consider going a little bit further in the direction of our ability to get on these things quickly, because again, it's sort of that old adage about a stitch in time, right? If you fix, after the first little stitch comes out, it's like one stitch. If you wait, you're re-sewing the whole garment. So right now, we're going to be, when we get approval, whether it's tonight or at some point in the future, we got a lot of potholes to fix. I mean, there's going to be a lot of poor, hot, sweaty county guys out here, because I know there's some on Tom's Road that are getting big. 249's got some scary ones on it, and we need to get them fixed. So anyway, discussion by council.
I'd like to make a motion. I would like for us to take $33,000, split three ways. $11,000 between each county and $11,000 in an interest-bearing account. That would leave us still, roughly $75,000 left in the road fund or general accounts? Or was it
What did we say we
64?
had in?
65.
Well, we spent a bunch.
We have
Last year, we spent a
64?
bunch, but we've still got some left. And again, the sales
So
tax
that's
has
still-
got to go for roads, so we have
Right.
no choice but to.
Right, so if we have to use it for roads, we might as well go ahead and put it in the escrow with both counties. Or at least a big portion,
Right, so as a reminder, on, let's see, May 25th, it looks like was this accounting, our road fund balance was $65,583. Of course, that gets added to every month when
Right.
the comptroller's checks come in, but.
I just think if you have more say, I mean, everything that I hear from citizens is that it takes too long, the roads are getting worse, we're not doing anything. If we give you $11,000 to spend with each county, then the roads get done more quickly, instead of us waiting 60 days for it to go from us to the county commissioner. It's in escrow. I think that those dollars would go further for road repairs.
The only thing I would caution on that, Tracy, I like your enthusiasm to get the road repaired, is there needs to be some kind of accountability
Yeah.
besides just the mayor. And if I'm hearing you right, Mike, you're wanting this 3,000. That's about what they could do every month. So if we need to, if we need to make it a working 3,000 like every month or
Yeah,
something like
I'm
that, that
okay
could
with
be a pretty easy take. But I I'm not necessarily for putting 11,000 and giving the mayor the sole discretion to, you get into the point, well, he fixed this road and he didn't fix mine, and he had the money, why didn't he spend it on mine?
Yeah.
I think we could kind of reel him in a little bit if need be, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Well-
I don't disagree. I mean, mayor is Latin for lightning rod, right? Because when you become mayor, as Tara well knows, you become a lightning rod. So but I did envision it, just for clarification, kind of like a toll tag, right? So when that balance starts coming down, I come back to council and say, we need to replenish.
Right.
Because, 3,000's, I mean, it's not a huge amount. We just spent 50-something grand, right? We did a bunch of roads, I mean, big sections, but 50-something thousand, and we didn't clean up all the poetry. We helped a lot, so I appreciate your comments. Tracy, sorry, I jumped in front of you.
Oh, no. The other thing I want to add to this is, every month, one councilman take and do roads, or we split the roads up into sections where each council member has a section that they have to report on monthly, instead of it being all left on your shoulder.
Well,
I know, Terry, you think that $11,000 is a lot of money, but we have money sitting in the bank that's not doing us any good, sitting there that's strictly for roads.
Mine's more about the management
Yeah, it's
of the
more-
person that's running it.
Well, we all
Accountability.
take responsibility. We all need to take responsibility in the roads.
But I do like the part about, I mean, I would rather just be the guy that calls the county and gives them the job description and tells them what to work and not even make the decisions. Because again, that's a smaller lightning rod, but it's still a lightning rod. But I do think it's a good idea, and I would certainly hear any consideration of having somebody partnered up, maybe it's you, Terry, as the mayor pro tem, that is part of making those decisions, right, on where we spend that money. We have and I've tried to resurrect, again, to Tara, another compliment, the objective road report that we created under her reign or term, and trying to resurrect that so that it's a little more based on, well, are there 2 houses on that road, or are there 100 houses on that road? Because if there's 100 houses, it probably is a better investment than if we're doing it for 2. Not that I don't care about the 2, but, and how bad is the road, and how dangerous is the road, and all of that. So I would love to have somebody else partnered up with me so there's 2 people signing off on where we're spending the money and not just one.
See, I have a comment on this. I understand Hunt County, we only reimburse them for fuel and asphalt. Nothing for labor or their equipment or anything. Kaufman County, we have to reimburse them for their fuel and asphalt, plus some sort of accounting for their labor and their machine costs, which can be expensive. And so, in my mind, it's not an even 3,000 between the two. Now, granted, Kaufman County doesn't have nearly as many roads as Hunt County, and we understand that. But I mean, and I don't have any problem with 3,000 for Hunt County, because I think that will cover a lot of asphalt. I don't think 3,000 for Kaufman County will go very far, because as we've seen from our other invoices, they roll in labor and some kind of fee for their equipment. So I think if there's one that needs to be higher, it would be Kaufman County.
Well, I agree with you. I went out and drove all of these roads because I looked at it the same way. We got these 4 or 5 roads, $3,000, and we've got these 3 little roads in Kaufman County, $3,000. If the difference is that extra labor and fuel and things, then it kind of makes sense. That means the Kaufman deal is really a $2,000 job.
Right.
Is that?
Yes.
So from that standpoint, I immediately looked at it too. This is not right.
Well, and Dale, you said fuel and labor, but actually they also charge for their equipment usage, which tends to make the cost, Kaufman County's costs, go much higher for the same work, the same pothole as we do in Hunt County.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's.
Yeah, and
really-
I agree with that because I thought the Hunt County for $3,000, that's a deal.
Okay, so let me,
Compared to the condition of those roads.
And I believe it will go a lot further
Rather, yeah.
than 3,000 in Kaufman County.
so let me kind of share back, and if he was here, he'd get up
Okay.
and confess to it. So I've spent quite a bit of time, even before I was put in this position, with Kelly Lane of Kaufman County and with David Monroe of Hunt County. And what they're telling me, they have discretion, with the judge's approval, to contribute as much money to the project as they want, right? They can donate labor, they can do whatever they want. To me, it's a potential way to get some of our property tax dollars back,
Exactly.
right?
Paying them.
On an informal basis. So Kelly is telling me that stretch of road on 249 is 3.67 miles long, I think, from the Hunt County line to 986. That's a lot of road for $2,100. All he's charging us for is the asphalt. That's it.
This is Kelly Lane?
Kelly Lane. He's not charging us trucking. He's not charging us labor. We couldn't do it with our own crew any better. So what he's doing is he's using his discretion, and so he's going to quote each project, as is David. They're going to have to take it to the judges and get it approved, but he has the ability he can go as strict as the agreement that we have, or he can back off of that and say, you know what, I need to try out this new machine, I'm just going to charge you for the asphalt. Because in this case, he's going to fix 249 shoulder with a new gadget he bought that hangs off the back of a dump truck that he wants to go try out. So he's going to test it on us.
So it's informal with Kaufman County, but that's not following their ILA. Their ILA says they'll charge materials, fuel, labor,
If
and
the
equipment.
judge, I'm not running his campaign, if the judge approves it and Kelly wants to do it, and it's
Mike-
on paper, we're going to take it.
I'm happy to have this. It's just a change, but it's not necessarily in our ILA with them like that.
Understood.
So if Kelly Lane's willing to do it, I'm agree with you, yes.
I've got a commitment. I mean, I've got a piece of paper with his signature and the judge's signature, so.
Well, and I guess I'd say if it ever came down to a challenge where they did want to add labor for, add equipment and labor costs, Kaufman County, then we may need to up it, but.
We may, yeah, but, and each of these will be quoted independently, right? So let's say
Yeah.
Harry does agree to help me with this. If they give us a quote that's just stupid high, we're not going to go for it necessarily. We'll use our discretion and say, yeah, I don't think so. That's not a good
Okay.
deal, so.
The money being in escrow too gives them a shorter turnaround time. And at least that's what Kelly Lane and Mr. Monroe had said to me.
Well, Kaufman required it, I think, when we first formed. I think they said before they do any work, you have to have money.
Escrow.
Because they didn't want to
Yeah.
be chasing payment.
Right. And so the more money we have in those escrow accounts, the quicker we can get things done, the further our dollars stretch with the counties putting in labor costs and not charging us for that, not charging us for machinery. And I think this is an opportunity that we need to jump on this and give them more. Give them more money now than, haven't we been averaging about $3,000 a month on I think I added that up somewhere.
I don't know what the average is.
I think it was
but we're-
6,000 or something like that a month.
I don't know. To me, we got to start somewhere. I'm
Yeah.
not telling you this number's going to work later in the year,
Yeah.
or it's going to work 2 years from now. It's a starting point.
Yeah, and I guess I'd say, let's try it and see.
See how far $3,000 goes, and we have some very serious road issues right now. 249 is becoming dangerous. Tom's Road is becoming dangerous, especially at night. And
Yes.
2326 is getting really interesting. So we need to do something, so this
Okay.
would be a step.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mike. So I went and averaged how much money we're getting in sales and use tax. So that turns out to be about $8,600 and some odd dollars a month on an average.
Okay?
And so if we're not going to do the 11,000, I don't think 3,000 is enough money. I think we need to go up. Somebody meet me halfway here.
Okay.
We don't have any, do we have
Do we have any speakers?
we don't have any motions. You made a
Yeah.
proposal. Nobody's done a motion
Yeah.
yet.
Okay,
So,
so
and
I make a motion that we draft a resolution for approval and discussion next month for, let's go, $6,000 for discretionary spending for roads, subject to Mayor Pro Tem review and approval.
Well, I think if we wait another month, we're behind the eight
well,
ball.
we can't
We
wait a
can't
month.
Okay.
So I make a motion, how much?
That we approve the three now and then,
Well, wait a minute. Okay, so
so, Well, no, it's, we
So
can talk about it.
we have a motion, so it's live. Motions live until they're either pulled back or voted on. So we either need a second on what Dale just said, or Dale needs to withdraw his motion before we can go on. We don't want to stack them.
I would like to hear from the citizens. I think we've
Okay.
discussed it.
Let's take a pause. Let's hear from our customers. Number 5, Jonathan Blake, you're first up, please.
Jonathan Blake, Poetry, Texas. I agree with Councilmember Hibbs. I don't think 3,000 is enough. I think 5 might be more applicable. I also suggest that not just with Councilmember Fowler as a on the approval, that we have Councilmember Anderson, mainly because he's got the time and experience dealing with these. And,
Tom.
And I know in the past, a lot of times when we were making financial decisions, we always got 2 council members to make that discretionary thing. It just takes the lightning rod off of the mayor a little bit. And I think it's worth giving it a try to see how that works. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, Rose Ingram. Okay, Rose passes. Tara Sinkovich?
So I was glad to see that Kelly Lane, when we had our meeting with Councilmember Blake and myself, I got the sense that they were wanting to kind of help us out, even though the ILA was very short, kind of to the point. They wanted to have the same one across all 13 cities in Kaufman County. But I kind of got that sense that they have some discretion. So I'm glad to see and hear that. That is good news. I do know that the project sheet was put in on the May 13th meeting, so it feels like an eternity from meeting to meeting when you're trying to get roads done, and I understand that concept. I think usually though, it might be 2 weeks before a meeting that you put that in, and you're not having to wait all that time, and so it probably does feel like an eternity. So the concept is a little bit troubling. I am glad to see, I don't think it should be all on the mayor for a number of reasons. It is the number 1 most costly item for the town, so there should be heightened accountability. And so I think having 2 council members sign on off, if you're going to do this plan, it might be worth a try, but with the caveat that you might consider only for pothole shoulder repair, not for like the big, $60,000 refurbishment. That's something, a whole nother level. We have 2 chart of account numbers, one for pothole repair and one for the refurbishment of roads. And the refurbishment is much more costly. And we're kind of saving, at least in our past, we saved for that amount because when we were able to dish out close to $60,000 at one time for several roads refurbishment, then that's a whole nother expenditure, and that's where that objective data road sheet comes in. And in the perception, I think among the citizens, if they do have 2 additional people council members signing off on that there is more accountability, and I think that would go over perhaps better, because the concept of carte blanche, letting one person decide, is troubling, I think, for many. So.
Okay. Thank you, Tara.
Also, if I may, I think the volunteer team still has thousands of dollars approved, and there might be some citizens who are still willing to do some of that to help in the interim. So that does save money, but I think there is still several thousand.
Yeah, Kevin told me we got 1 load left, like $600, I think.
You might
Anyway,
revisit that,
noted,
yeah.
we can check.
I thought it was 3, but I could be
Okay.
wrong.
Thank you, Tara. Okay, last up, I hope I don't mispronounce this. This is an interesting name. Obi?
Obi.
Okay. Obi, pleasure to meet you. That's a cool name. You belong in poetry.
Yep. Obi Rooker Poetry. So you're talking about repairing the roads quite a bit here, but what about the culverts? So on 249, there's 3 or 4 culverts that's completely buried. So when the water comes, it just crosses over the road and destroys it. So even if you fill the potholes, it ain't gonna help. They're not gonna last. Is there any plan, or is anybody focused on that?
So
Well,
we have to identify them, so yeah, I'd be glad to look at that. We've had the counties work with us in the past on
2456 and 249, it's buried right there. And there's always a big old flood there.
249 and where?
249 and 2456.
Is that the one to the east of your house?
Yeah.
That corner?
Yep.
Okay.
249. 249. And then I think a little farther up, there's another one that's buried, a little farther east, because, man, this last rain we had, it was a big old flood right there. The roads were covered.
And I can call you if you want to show me, just make sure we identify the same ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's exactly what we want to do. We want
Okay.
to get those, yeah, because if we can get that corrected, we don't have the water coming over the top of the road.
It'll slow down the pothole
Yeah.
problem, yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I'll reach out to you and
Sure.
we can identify them.
Okay. And I don't know how you get on this list to help saw trees or whatever, but you can put me on there.
you're on there.
Am I on there?
Automatic.
Tag.
You are.
We traded you.
Oh, Robin, sorry, oh, my apologies, I'm sorry. You're on everything, so I just lost track of you.
Yes, sir.
Just remind me every
Robin
time.
Followwill, Poetry, Texas. So in the beginning, how Tracy did make the comment about how maybe you can divide the roads up to look at that. I know we're not a big city, but it's kind of like what they do in a big city. Each council person is responsible for a district, so it's kind of like you make certain council people members for the streets, makes it easier. My other question, well, it's kind of a loaded question, so I'll just start it. Who is going to be the one responsible for marking the road when what needs to be fixed? Like in the past, how it got spray painted, what section is going to get fixed? And I guess, I know we don't probably know yet, but, you know, I'm still the only one on 2400 that got left off. The shoulder didn't get fixed on purpose, and so I'm the only one that has 3.5, 4 feet of part of my road missing. I know that was discussion. I've talked to Hunt County. It was back and forth. So I just kind of want to make sure that at least gets addressed. When you were also talking about maybe having 2 people sign off on the road stuff, so it's not all on Mayor Jaffe, I personally think the 2 best people for that would be Terry Fowler and Dale Bryant. For the road stuff and repair. And a lot of that for me is because Dale has many years in the constructions with, he's has tons of experience with that. And I know that y'all have a much better working relationship already with Kaufman County. I'm so glad to hear that they're willing to, work with us and donate some of the time, equipment, and all that. I think the working relationship you've already built with Kelly Lane is going to be really good for us with Kaufman. And I know y'all already have a great one with Hunt County, but my biggest thing and my husband's biggest thing is about our section of the road, the only one that didn't get fixed. So I know y'all, it's something we'll still have to look into and all that, but
I didn't think that was a problem. I guess I was sitting when you talked to David and he said he was going to come back out there. Did they not?
they've never came back. No, it's still never been fixed, and the spray paint that was put back out there for that, of course, has faded. I have no trouble getting out there and re-spray painting it if needed.
I don't mind showing him. Yeah. And to your point, just so the citizens know, we have several roads that are half roads, half one side and the other side is the county. And just for an education to them and clarity, we'll just have to meet them on those roads probably.
Yeah.
But I thought he had followed up with you because he told you he would, so.
No, he didn't. I mean, like I said, he said, yes, unfortunately. He told me, he's like, unfortunately, yes, you were the only one that didn't get fixed because your section was the only one that wasn't spray painted.
Okay, our apologies.
So, anyways.
Thank you, Robin. Apologies for getting you out of order there. Okay, so council, back to us. Agenda item 5, taking action on Hunt County. We've got several ideas, both from citizens, former mayor, and council. I personally, I'll express my opinion. I like the idea of having two. I do appreciate the value of Tom in this. I think Tom has got a good head for finances, and he just has a good, I think he's strong in that area, so I certainly am in favor of Tom and Terry as a combo.
And currently, we three are the signatories, so we have a little bit of
Yeah.
financial
Well, I think
responsibility.
I think Tom has done a great job over the 4 years he's been on here with me of keeping track of our money and keeping an eye on it.
So what do you think that looks like? We would just take the road reports and kind of divvy them out and make recommendations, or come up with,
Well, I think we're going to have to, what I would ask council for tonight is approval to put some amount of money on account with the two counties. We're talking Hunt right now, we'll get to Kaufman in a second. Assign the three of us as the sort of road project team for the foreseeable future until we make a change to something different. And that it is our discretion for the next 30 days between now and the next council meeting, and I'll go ahead and put it back on the next agenda so we can check in on it, to determine with the county commissioners which projects, but knowing we got to get on some of these real quick. I mean, we need to get out there and drive these roads, figure it out. We're not breaking quorum by the three of us, so that works. I like the suggestion Jonathan made of maybe increasing the amount a little bit to 5,000, not 11, but 5, so I think that's a worthy consideration. And I also appreciate Tara's input, and I wasn't even thinking of clarifying that, but she's exactly right. Under no circumstance did I think this was like building roads. This is fixing roads. This is a repair mission. When we get around to fixing roads or rebuilding them, that's going to be a whole different conversation, because that's like big chunks of money, and that's a big commitment, right? When first time we rebuild a road, everybody that ain't on that road is going to be at this meeting raising Cain, right? So that's, we're going to have to talk a lot more. This is clearly, in my mind, it's only to fix shoulders. We have shoulders disappearing, which is dangerous, and some of them are sheer drop-offs, and we have holes in the middle. That's what this is about, and I'm fine with clarifying that in whatever motion is made.
So,
Okay.
I'll make a motion that do you want to discuss?
Well, I just thought we'd rescind the motion.
Okay, you want to
Rescind
pull
my
your
original
motion
Pull
back?
that motion and then make a
Okay, so
motion.
Dale Bryant, for the record, pulls his motion back, so
and
it's
then
gone.
make a motion that we approve these two invoices, or these two work.
Well, and I probably confused things a little bit by including the work orders in the packet. The work orders were sort of, okay, if you hated my first proposal, would you please approve the work orders? Because I got to get to work on it, we got to get to work on the roads, okay? So what I'm looking for really is a motion to approve putting money on account with the two counties, assigning three of us, I support that idea, to be in charge of it, and we will work with the commissioners and report back to the council on a next meeting.
Wouldn't we need a resolution for that?
No.
To do?
No.
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess I would make a motion, we accept number 5 as it is, with the additional words that a second,
Two other parties, myself and Terry Fowler. Right, so Anderson,
between us, the two of us,
okay,
would be the second authority or whatever
okay,
to support it. And this is for number 5, right? So we're going to,
okay. Anything on the amount, or you want to leave it to the original, or?
well, I think that probably 3,000 is not enough, because, as you said, we are in the summer session. We need a lot of work done in a hurry, and if we've got the counties willing to do it, then I hate to have anything that's going to keep them from moving quickly. So I guess my thing is, I wouldn't go to 11, but I'd go to 5,000,
Okay,
and then see.
Just so I'm clear, what we're, motion and second. Your motion's to escrow, put 5,000 in escrow and add me
And/or,
and/or?
yeah.
Okay.
In other words, not all three of us.
no, I think, I'd like it to be and.
Well, you're the mayor, if that's what you want.
Well, I mean, you guys are the legislators, but I'd like it to be and.
That's fine.
It takes three of us to fill a pothole.
Okay, that's fine.
And I'd also like the stipulation, if you're willing, that it's to be restricted to edge repair and pothole repair only.
That's fine.
Okay?
I'd just like to hear the motion all in one sentence.
Okay?
Okay, I'll try to do it again.
Okay.
Okay, make a motion that we accept number 5, item 5 on the agenda as it is with the following edits. Is that the $3,000 goes to $5,000, and that the mayor's approval is subject to approval by Councilman Fowler and Anderson.
And it's for edge and pothole only.
Oh, sorry, and thirdly, it's for edge, pothole, and culvert, if needed,
Well, yeah.
repairs.
Okay, fair enough.
I second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Anderson, we have a second by Hibbs. I'll read back as best I can. So this is agenda item 5. We're increasing the amount going into escrow with Hunt County to $5,000. We're going to limit this effort and expenditure only to edge or shoulder and pothole and culvert repair. And Tom and Terry it will be an and relationship. So if I spot something or they spot something or Tom spots something, all three of us have to agree before we issue a work order and spend some money. And again, we'll come back next month and see how we're doing on this. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you, council. I know the citizens will appreciate that. I'm purposely not focusing on my own road because I don't want people to say he fixed his road. No, I'm going to let my road fall apart because it also discourages weddings, by the way, so that's a good thing. Because it turns
Mayor,
out a
can
lot
I
of
make-
people getting married back there, and if the road falls apart, maybe they'll quit getting married. I don't know.
Mayor, can I have a minute just to let some folks know on this item of the roads and things like that? We are going to be in the process of our budget. Citizens had big concerns as we were out there about the budgets and money expenditures and things like that. So I just want to throw it out there on the table for the citizens that we are going to be looking at a better way of controlling and showing where the money is. And as we're talking about it, I think, we could split it up in a capital line item for the major stuff, as what was mentioned, and then an operational expense for the potholes, to clarify a lot of the expenditures. And of course, like you said, we can start this month looking at it, and then we can always make adjustments. But these will be things we'll need to be looking at in our budget coming up.
Okay, thank you, Doug. And for the record, don't hear Doug saying we made any changes, okay? We do not make changes unless we're sitting in front of you and you're listening to us, okay? So, but we are allowed to talk about things that and you can bring us things that we can consider for future agendas. So that's a futures thing, and as you know, if you've been riding along with us for a few years now, when we get to budgets, it's like everybody's involved. We're going to have workshops, and we're going to have hearings, and we're going to put it in newspapers, so please don't leave here thinking we changed the budget. We ain't changing the budget. Okay, moving on to agenda item 6. This is identical twin to 5, but now we're talking about Kaufman County. Let's see, we have some people that want to talk on that one too. So let's start the discussion, council, and then we'll open it up for citizens. Exact same story, just different council.
Well, I have since with the new information you provided about Kelly Lane just charging materials, I would do the exact same thing, even though there are fewer miles in Kaufman County than in Hunt, but I would do the same thing with all the same edits as we did in item 5.
So Tom, you don't think Kaufman County needs a little bit more money? I mean, those roads have been poorly maintained for a long time. You don't think it needs more money?
Well, Hunt County has too.
Well-
They're pretty serious.
We've seen some consistency in Hunt
I
County,
guess,
we haven't with
but I
Kaufman.
guess the big thing, Tracy, is if Kaufman County now, through Kelly Lane's willing to get out there and start filling potholes or repairing places where we have problems, well, as a start, I would say, let's just do the same thing. But that doesn't say this is that way forever.
Right.
It's just, we got a summer, we've got to capture as much as we can. Mike is exactly right. Once winter gets here, water gets in those cracks and it freezes and it rips apart. So,
Well, since Kelly's got new equipment he wants to test out, I say give him more money.
well,
So he can test it out for a
At
long period of
3.6
time.
miles or at $2,100 expense, I mean, that's almost 9 miles.
I know.
That might eat up Kaufman County.
Yeah.
But having driven those 3 roads today, I think when you look at the amount of traffic and everything on it, that I think, let's approve
The 5,000?
5,000.
Okay.
Move on.
Okay, we're going to let the citizens chime in, so does anybody want to make a motion? But you don't need to, I'm not encouraging, before we open it up for citizen input? You don't
well,
have to.
yeah, I guess I'd make I'm sorry.
We're not going to vote, but if you want to go ahead and start.
Yeah, I guess my motion is we do item 6, the exact same wording as item 5.
Okay,
To keep it simple, those 3 edits, I think there was 3.
okay, so Tom's made a motion, do we have a second? We're not going to vote, we're going to hear citizens, but do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, and speaking on item 6, we have, first off, Jonathan Blake.
Jonathan Blake, Poetry, Texas. I'm glad to see y'all passed it for Hunt County. I think doing the same for Kaufman's good, but it doesn't preclude you for having another work order come up for, you know, you say there's a road in Kaufman County that's really bad. You can add to it and put money in the escrow for that particular job, or you need to get the limbs trimmed on a road, you can do another work order. It's not tying your hands just with this escrow. You can still do other things. That's all.
Thank you, Jonathan. Rose Ingram? Okay, Rose passes. Tara Sikovich? By the way, I'm reminded I'm not using my egg timer here, so we're trusting you
I don't
guys. You
think anybody's gone over.
You misbehave, we're using the egg timer.
So I think the motion last time was for culverts, pothole, and edge shoulder repair. I'd also add into debris and tree trimming as well, perhaps. Just a thought.
Okay. Robin Followill?
Robin Follow, Poetry, Texas. I honestly was going to agree with Tracy on this one and just put, I was going to say 7, just because Kaufman it's just a little extra for that, just because also when you got the quote, like you said, you get out there, it's probably been a few weeks, it's going to be a few weeks before they actually, or maybe even just a week and a half, but with the heat also, the roads are falling apart with it also until it's fixed. So I was going to say maybe do Kaufman at 7 instead of 5,000. And then I think that it's really good that y'all are really sticking to it being the repair, the shoulders, the culvert. It's specifically road. That's what it's for, is just road, because then you don't have any pushback either. Y'all trimmed the trees on this street, but you didn't trim the trees on my street. It's for road repair, so.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Okay, so we have a motion by Anderson. We have a second by Bryant to mimic the prior motion, which, for clarification, was to allocate 5,000, and we got to work this motion. If you want to change it, we got to do a different motion. 5,000 to the county for edge or shoulder, pothole, and culvert work to be at the discretion of Mayor, Councilman Fowler, Councilman Anderson. That's the motion that's on the floor and seconded, so I call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, goes as is, but with so noted on the tree thing, we'll have to figure that out because that's a good point. Okay. So, item 7, this is where we get into the stuff that people don't care about, but it is kind of important. So, discuss and take action as necessary on Texas Municipal League cyber liability insurance lapse. So we are insured as a town, and the council members in the town and get other benefit from something called the Texas Municipal League. We call it TML sometimes. And they're an organization here in Texas that they do a lot of good things for us. One of the things they do is help us interpret laws and stay on the straight and narrow and all that sort of thing. Well, in the past, when we bought insurance from them, both liability, property, legal, whatever, it was all bundled as a single premium, and it came out of apparently a single risk pool. But they started offering a year or two back at least, we've had it for a while, something they called cyber liability insurance, right? So if your town gets hacked somehow by some Chinese kid or otherwise, and they take control of your computers or, try to hold your financial databases hostage and charge you a payment to get it back, well, these people will come in, TML's group, and they'll contribute up to, you can get a $500,000 policy, $1 million policy. They'll help you clean it up, hopefully, and get back some of your data. So it's a very real risk in the world we live in. I mean, we're all subject to it, tragically. But they've made a change because they had so many claims to this policy because there's so much hacking going on, and cities literally losing access to their data and having to pay hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars to get their data back by these, taken over by these thugs. And so they went ahead and split the risk pool. So now the risk pool is their normal liability and legal defense and all that stuff, and a separate pot for cyber liability, because that's like a hot area right now. Well, consequently, it's a separate premium. And so when we renewed our insurance a while back, that wasn't clear to us. I'm not going to blame anybody in particular. I think it just wasn't clear to us as a council that was a separate premium, a separate document that needed to be signed and all that. So sitting here tonight, we don't have cyber liability. Now, I'm not sounding any alarms, because if you've seen our computer systems and our stuff, it ain't very interesting as a target, okay? They're not going to learn a lot about poetry, and they ain't going to get a lot. Our stuff right now is pretty much standalone. It's not out in the cloud. It's not. And so personally, as a person that comes out of the computer world from my past, I don't think there's a huge risk. Now, saying that, this will be repeated probably someday in a courtroom where they'll say, well, Mayor, you said there wasn't a risk. But I just honestly, I don't think so. But I do want the council to be aware of this, and the citizens, because what they've done is they've called us and they said, listen, you're like 8 months late, but we'll still let you in for the balance of the year. They'll prorate it and go ahead and include this insurance and cover you, but you need to know that this year, last year we paid $175 for this cyber liability protection as part of our bundle. This year it's $1,000, so what we're talking about tonight is $1,000. Now they're going to prorate it because we're most of the way through the year, so we're not going to pay $1,000. We're going to pay, I don't know, $300 or whatever's left on the year to finish out the year with this coverage, but they've already told us next year it's going up. It's going to go up to, I don't know, $1,500 or something. It's going to go up. So now if we want to do this, the first step is me being authorized by the council to sign I want to say they call it an ILA, but it's not the same ILA as we have with,
Yeah, it's an ILA.
it's an intergovernmental risk pool interlocal agreement. It is an ILA. Anyway, signing this, saying we want it, at which point they will provide us a quote for the cost, at which point we would have to write them a check, at which point we would be insured. So I brought this here because I want council to be aware of this, in case any of you were sleeping better because we had cyber liability insurance. We don't, but I don't think we're at huge risk. Nobody's taking over our town quite yet, but I'm not going to make the decision on my own. This council will make the decision as to how important do you think cyber liability insurance is, and do you want to go ahead and renew this policy for the balance of this year, and then when it comes up for next year, there would be a budget consideration we'd have to think about. But also, we'll have to renew it on time, I guess, so.
So we're talking two separate issues. So we're talking about paying the remaining of this year.
Well, you're not going to pay it until I sign this agreement, but I'm not signing this agreement till you tell me you want me to sign this agreement, and then they'll provide us a quote.
Okay, I thought that agreement started September 1st.
No.
No.
Okay.
No, this agreement just gets the ball rolling. It just says we want it, and then they'll give us a quote, and once we send them a check, then it goes in force. But they're willing to ignore the lapse and let us jump in late and have insurance the rest of the year.
And Mike, this is the liability limits on each of these items?
That's correct. That's the rate table and the limits. That's correct.
Well, I'd make
So
a
this
motion.
is funded through October 1st.
Right, well, there's money in the budget, because we, again, we're used to paying about 175 for it, and we
Well, we've got, I think it's 1,025, something like that,
left.
in the budget.
Well, and again, they're going to prorate it, so we're not even paying 1,000 because we're only a portion of the year.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. I think I've been around some of this stuff. It gets quite expensive when you get ransomware and cyber, crime. I think it's important for us to have regardless of our size, because when you get into this kind of damage and you're having to replace computers and anything electronic that we have now or in the future, I think it'd be a good idea. So I make a motion that we have the mayor sign the ILA and pay the remainder year out for coverage for our cyber.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Doug Kendrick, and we have a second by Tom.
Yes.
Okay, we have a second by Tom, and that is to authorize me to sign the ILA with TML, Texas Municipal League, which will generate a quote and then write a check. Do we want to put a not to exceed on it or something in case my numbers are wrong, or,
Well, your not to exceed is 500 right now.
Yep.
okay?
But
They told us the other day that it was, I don't know, $300 or $400.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
it shouldn't exceed.
It's not going to be $1,000, I'll tell you
Right,
that.
but it is what it is, they're going to tell us.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion to authorize me to sign the ILA and write a check back for the liability insurance, cyber liability insurance for the balance of the year. We'll talk about next year when we start working on budgets and get to next year. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
What?
okay. I'm going to pretend like I didn't see any vote.
Oh, sorry.
That was a neat job.
7, my apology. Robin, you're the... You saved me. Thank you, Robin. I owe you a Slurpee. Okay, so now, let's do that vote again. So all in favor of authorizing me to sign the ILA and write a check for cyber liability for the balance of this year, in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, thank you. Okay, 7, wow, we're almost there. Good news is Sandy's leaving the air conditioner on, so we're not going to get hot. Okay, we're to the end, so update on town emergency management preparedness, Kendrick, so let me kind of give a little background here. So one of the things I've been trying to do is to spread the love across the council here and sort of take advantage of our strengths and areas of interest and passion and all of that. And of course, Doug is a retired fire chief and he just knows that world. I asked Doug whether he would be willing to be and we don't have an official position, so don't get in a knot over it, but if he would sort of be our emergency management preparedness person, right? So he can go talk to those people and they know like the same language. When they talk to me, I kind of know, but not exactly, but him and Terry live in that world. So he graciously agreed to do that. He's already been meeting with, and he'll give you an update on that. But anyway, Doug, would you kind of tell us where you're at?
Thank you, Mayor. Since Mayor and I have had that conversation, I have already spoke with Kaufman County, and as I mentioned in some other meetings, Kaufman County is actually our county that we go to for emergency management incidents that we have here in town.
Can you clarify why that is, just so people know? We didn't like flip a dice or something.
It's all based on where your town hall is located.
Right.
And so town hall is located in Kaufman County, so that makes it our go-to folks to do that. I met with Hunt County this week as well, Richard Hill, good folks in both counties, and willing to help us. Both counties are willing to help us take care of whatever need it is. Plus, they do work together and have worked together on incidents together. So they're glad to have somebody, I guess, to talk to and be able to do our fair share, helping out in an incident. So I've also asked some questions, listened to the public, and given suggestions. Kaufman County does have a notification system that they say poetry is eligible for that notification system. That is something that I'm working on, so I can talk to the mayor and council and city staff to find out where we can get this information out to the public so people can sign up for this notification. What it is just if there's bad weather or something, or there's a road closure or anything like that, we can send out notifications to the citizens of Poetry of what's going on, if you need to take shelter, that sort of thing in a weather-related incident. So, again, it's good things. I've talked to a few people out in the community, obviously. There's still a lot of volunteers wanting to do something, a lot of some people that have experience in rescues and things like that. I had contacted the organization, it's East Texas Regional CERT. I dealt with them in my previous city. They're the group that takes care of eastern part of this area. They're involved in Fate, Little Roy City, Terrell, that sort of thing. They're willing to take on that ability to also serve poetry. What's good about that and having the community involved is, again, getting the word out to say, hey, anybody interested in being on the CERT team? And CERT is a Citizens Emergency Response Team. Originated in California, basically to say if disasters happen in neighborhoods, the neighbors are supposed to be there to take care of each other and train in all kinds of rescues, medical. They can even help out in disasters of doing estimates on buildings and that sort of thing. So it's kind of one of those, which way do we go first? I'd like to get something out when we get this notification stuff, how we're going to notify you guys in the community of who would be interested in CERT. I hope there are quite a few. We can provide training. There's training that happens 2 Saturdays. They have training in Kaufman. They have training in Terrell. So that's something that you get trained to be in CERT, and it's a good opportunity for the citizens to be part of, helping each other out during disasters or emergencies. If we have pleasure events, fireworks or whatever, they can also come out and help us with traffic and things like that. So they're willing to like I said, help us out, which is a good thing, that we can get our people involved along with working with others. So those are some of the things coming down, getting with the counties, and that way we can have a quicker response if we do have some incidents in the city. So working on some contact information amongst us, so that way if there is something going on out in Poetry, that we have some contact names and numbers for people to call in on. So again, it's a great opportunity for us three, Kaufman and Hunt County and the town of Poetry, to work together and create, a better, I call it an insurance policy, where we'll be able to help each other and take care of the community. And they will call on Red Cross and places like that. We'll be talking about shelters and things like that. If there is ever knock on wood, something drastic happened in Poetry where we had people needing shelters. So that's what we're working on, Mayor.
Thank you, Doug. So in full transparency, I did offer the opportunity to Terry too, but since he still does it for a living, he's like, I do enough emergency management. I don't need to do this at home. So Doug was the natural first choice. I will say it's a little bit related to this, but I want to throw it out there too. The other one I see some of us thinking about, talking about emergencies, and it's not a real emergency, but it can be, I guess, is can I get down 1565 or can I get down Tom's Road and all that? Now, a couple of thoughts on that. One, and I think it's David's wife that sort of started this thought in my head. Turns out there's a really cool website you can sign up for that will give you alerts on 1565. and it'll tell you what the water level is, and you can say, I only want to know after it's like 10 feet, and I'm not talking about the road, but from the creek. You have to figure out where the flood range is, and it'll send you really cool alerts. But, you know, thinking about things like that and how we can, it's not necessarily an emergency, although if it's deep enough and you're stupid enough, you could end up in an emergency. But just where we could help citizens out, right? Maybe, for example, putting a sign further up the road is closed, so you don't take your horse trailer all the way down to the bottom and then realize, uh-oh, we're backing 3 miles up the road. You know, just as kind of not so much emergency as just a convenience, but then, you know, just having little things like that would add to. But I think more importantly, what I see this as, emergency management is not something most of us walk around thinking about, but the moment you need it, you need it. And that's the time that it better be ready, right? So I think by having Doug, and we're also blessed to have Terry with his knowledge to back Doug up if he needed it, you know, I want to know, and we want to know as a town, that if something happens, last time it was a tanker truck, next time it could be worse, that we're not like running around like a bunch of, you know, loopy chickens, that we know what to do, who to call. Doug, you're in charge, control the scene, do this, do that. I mean, I as mayor, and Tara when she was mayor, we have authority to do things, but if we ain't got stuff like laid out, it's meaningless, right? We're walking around like Barney Fife flashing our badge, but it ain't impressing anybody because it's not getting them fixed. So the idea here is to be prepared ahead of time, to have the relationships. Those people know where we are, they know who we are, we know them. Tara started that with Steve Huey. I always call him Huey, but I think it's Howie. But anyway, we had lots of conversation with them. Tom and Tara went down and got a lot of training.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, Doug, you know, Terry and I both had all those, well, Terry said a lot more than any of us, those courses, the EMS courses that we were asked to take. This was
Whatever they were, NIMS.
NIMS.
Yes.
I say, you forgot more than I know. But anyway, and one of the reasons we were told is that if you do have a real emergency, somebody from the city has to sign off, and they look to having been through the NIMS processes. And have you, by any chance, taken all those courses as well?
Yes, sir.
So there's 3 of us.
And he understood them. If I take them, I'm like,
Well, I admit, it was pretty grueling. I did it, but I wouldn't want to do it. Yeah.
Back in the day, you know, there was only, you know, 1, 2, and 3. Now there's goes all the way up to 800 now. And
Yeah.
And you know, those are the things I'll pass on. And Kaufman, and being partners now with Kaufman, we go by their emergency plan. So my plan is to get information out to y'all. They call them annexes, so everybody will know all the steps during that sheltering, medical.
Well, I guess I just had one other thing. I think we were told last time that you needed to turn in those certificates to the town so that the secretary...
I think it's the 100 and 200 level where we
Yes.
all are supposed to take, and I believe we all have. But the other ones are where you have to go places and
Yeah.
do role play and all that.
to Mesquite to do them.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that they gave us certificates, and I turned in mine to the town.
Yep.
So I think,
Once you do a certificate, it's actually part of FEMA.
Yeah.
So you can always go to the FEMA, your account or whatever, and
That's
they
it.
should have your certs.
Well, one of the things I've asked Doug for is to make sure that we're compliant on training.
well, and then,
Training we're not taking, he will tell us we need to go take whatever the...
yeah, and as long as we're prepared, you know, if something happens,
Right.
we're ready to act. And it is good to have somebody else involved, too.
Well, I just...
Especially somebody that knows what they're doing.
A smart person that speaks the language. I think that's important. So, okay, so let's jump over for a minute to citizen comments, and then we'll come back to council discussion. Robin Followill, you wanted to speak on this?
Robin Followill, Town of Poetry. I just wanted to thank Doug for going the extra mile on all this, trying to really, you know, find the sources and all that. When it gets more together, I would be more than happy to help. I'm FEMA certified with all of that because of my city. With building inspections, you have to for all the disasters, the program, the backup, all that stuff. So whenever we get that actually in motion, put me on that team.
Thank you, Robin. Okay, any other discussion by council? There's no action being taken on this. This is only discussion, so any other comments? Okay, we'll move over to, in citizens, I didn't miss anybody, right? Robin was the only one on that one. Did you want to comment on the agenda item or on general comments? Okay, we're moving to that.
Can we have a restroom break?
Hang tight. You need a recess? Yes. Okay, we're going to do a 3 or 4 minute recess.
You know all those.
Sorry?
You know all those roads. How, you know, those roads back behind you, they're a mess.
Citizen comments, we're going to wrap up. We're looking for Tom. He'll be out in a minute.
Miles back in both directions.
Thank you, sir. Is it ROO 20?
I guess they'd be,
Okay, nobody stare at Tom when he walks out. I told y'all not to do that. Okay, 2 taps, it says on the pad, so we're back in session after our little quick recess there. We're moving to general public comments. On the sheet here, for some reason, Chad is second, but I'm going to make him first because he told me like 2 weeks ago he wanted to speak. So Chad McFarland, you're first. Let me also, as Chad is walking up, I didn't do this in the appreciation, but let me publicly thank Chad, who owns a business that makes really cool things, and he has some neat gadgets. Thank Chad for donating these to the town council. I very much appreciate his support, and these look cool. They make us look professional, so floor is yours.
Okay, Chad McFarland, Poetry, Texas. As some of y'all may know, I've been on the board of directors of the Terrell Chamber of Commerce for a number of years, which actually for 2025 I was named chairman. And as such, I know firsthand the networking opportunities and connections that can be made at the Chamber of Commerce lunch meetings, which is why I invited Mayor Jaffe to attend with me for the last couple of months. And he's already told me he's seeing positive results just from attending the meeting as my guest. So, to further along with that, I want to donate 1 year's membership into the Chamber of Commerce. So what I've got here, I've got the application, a business card for Bittner, who's their membership guy, and a $300 check to cover the first year's membership for the town.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chad.
And then, if I can approach,
Please.
I've got something else cool that I made.
It looks like a brick. You're not going to throw it at me.
Yeah, I think prior meetings I might have got.
I'm like at Brevard County, you know, graveyard dead if you start throwing stuff.
That is engraved with the town logo.
Wow. Yeah, I do not need to hang out with Chad because I went over to his shop one day and he's got machines I would love to have, so I got to be careful.
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Very generous, very kind. Thank you. Okay, Jonathan Blake.
I know you're not required to answer questions, but are we going to continue with the newsletter? Because the June newsletter was not posted on the website.
That's your only comment?
That's my only
Okay, I'll respond. We can respond in fact and all of that. So in fact, I'm not opposed to the newsletter, and Ann, the secretary, has actually been working on it. Former Mayor Tara did a lot of that herself, and now that she's not there, I'm sure she doesn't want to do our newsletter. I haven't even asked, and I wouldn't. But I don't know. It's just, of all the things I've been focused on the last 4 or 5 weeks, transitioning systems away from her and her family and getting that load off of them and onto me and getting council organized has just not been a priority. So I'm not going to tell you it's not going to continue, but I'm not going to set a date certain quite yet. What I do want to do is make it more integral to the website and less sort of paper-oriented, right? And I think we were mostly there. We only did a couple of printings, but, you know, it's probably going to be an area for you and for those online. I know we have huge fans out there watching us, where a volunteer would be really, really handy. You know, if one of you just loves to write, maybe some of you that write me the hate letters, and I don't think any of you are sitting in here, but you're probably listening on the internet, maybe you could redirect those writing skills to giving us a newsletter and informing our citizens and all of that. So, because that ain't my thing. I'm an engineer, black and white, and, you know, I'll give you some facts. But anyway, so we'll see where that goes. But I think a volunteer is a worthwhile thing. Well, that'll go on the webpage. I'll make it a pop-up, so we're just going to make it a pop-up.
Things like that I think citizens would like to still see.
Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. I've got Stella and Obi, but it's crossed out. Is that for real? You don't want to come back up? Okay, come on up. Stella?
Yes, Stella Rooker Poetry. I have something from Carol Lee that she wanted me to speak on for her, on her behalf as a proxy, but just myself. I'm glad that you guys are going to address the covert issue, the road issue, but I think you kind of need to also, I'm just going to put this bug in your ear, The bar ditches need to be redug, because when the water starts flowing, and I have pictures, my neighbor has pictures, we kind of live on the same road, I'm on 2454, between 2454 and 2456, and our culverts have been smashed by the big trucks that go by, and so the water doesn't have no place to go, so it goes over the road. So once that happens, then we get the big potholes. So we can fix the potholes, but if we don't fix the bar ditches and get the debris out of them, it's shooting yourself in the foot. That's my only bug. And then also on behalf of Carol Lee, who lives on 2458, you may have answered some of these already, but I told her I would read these on her behalf. She says, I would like to know what happened to Poetry Post approved by the City Council several years ago. It is a guide, it's a guide to upcoming events, financial expenditures and income, as well as what is going on. So I'm not sure if that, I think it's part of the newsletters, because there are a lot of elderly people that live in Poetry who don't get, that don't have the technology to get online and read that. So the newsletters are very helpful. Potholes are getting larger. We've already addressed that. She's on 249, 2458, and probably many other areas, but has anybody been working on them? And yes, they have been addressed. But again, when we get the torrential rains that we get, we can fix the potholes. But as soon as those big trucks come down the road and whatever, the increased traffic, you might as well forget it. It's like putting a cow over it and putting the hole in, it's gone. Her third one is there seems to be more homes for sale in the area. Is there something that makes, that needs to be told to the community? That's what she says. This is not me. This is on her behalf.
No, I'll tell you, realtors are everywhere. I mean, I don't know. I mean, in all seriousness, no, there's no nuclear power plants moving in. Nothing amazing is going to happen. They're just people trying to parlay the fact that our land is very valuable right now.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some people that just don't care about poetry. They're just going to flip it and make money and go. So
absolutely.
that's the statement of fact.
A lot of houses go up for sale because people are relocating.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't think there's anything special going out there anyway.
And then her last comment was, our community is rural, and I would like it to remain that such. Thank you, Carol Lee. So, thank you for hearing.
Thank you, Stella. Okay, Shelley Smith. And I've got Carol Lee down here, but you just spoke for Carol Lee, right? Is that what everybody heard? So I'm doing.
All right, Shelley Smith, Poetry, Texas. And I have to say, I love that you guys have gone back to the old system. This is awesome. I have three things I'd like to suggest to the council for possible agenda items. First, I'd like to have the council consider an expense account or a budget line item or something for you guys to get reimbursed for the things that you're having to put out of your own pocket. I think as a complete volunteer, you should not be paying for your own paper. You should not be paying for your own printer cartridges and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a burden on you guys that you're working too hard. You don't need to do it. I know that the former mayor reimbursed herself. You guys need to be reimbursed also. Perhaps someday you can have an actual expense account. I don't know how that's going to go right off the bat because we don't have any money. And until you get something set up so that you guys can get reimbursed, at least every councilman needs a key to the office, to the town hall, because you need to be able to come and go, to do any research, use the printer machine, use the computers, that kind of thing. Now, obviously, you can't be there all at the same time. You'll have to work that out. And I know that, a lot of people get calls late at night and need an answer right away. I mean, ask me how I know that. All right, so in number 2, recently I happened to cross an ordinance for an area in Colorado that required that certain outdoor lighting has rules which increased the ability to limit light pollution. It was the dark sky ordinance, and I'd be happy to look these up and give you guys what they've already got if you're interested at all. Exterior lights were required to have shades which directed the light only to areas where it's needed, not randomly project light upwards. There are also to be a certain luminosity and only as bright as necessary, and to utilize motion detector lights so that lights weren't on all the time. I'd like the council to consider this ordinance to protect our beautiful starlit skies, and maybe we'll set a standard for some neighboring communities. We'll be like a trailblazer. And then the very last thing is, I've been in lots of clubs where we've gone with the parliamentary procedure thing and the Robert's Rules of Orders, and all of our clubs always had, at the end of the agenda, a category for new business. Now, granted, the citizens can come up and present new business, but you guys don't get an opportunity to present new business, things that you want to tell everybody, hey, I want to put this on, a bug in your ear. Obviously, you can't discuss it. Well, I don't know if you can discuss it. You can't make any decisions, yada, yada. But this way, at least each of you would know, hey, heads up, you've got 4 weeks now to look up whatever. Like, say if Tom decided that he wanted to insist that everybody in Poetry drives a glow-in-the-dark car, it would be great if you knew ahead of time he was going to say that rather than wait till it's an agenda item, okay? So,
I'm told if you drive a Tesla underwater, it glows in the dark. It's a really terrific chemical fire, but that's another topic.
Interesting. Okay, I think that's it. You guys have done a great job. I am so very proud of you.
Thank you, Shelley. Okay, next up, Rose Ingram.
Hi, Rose Ingram, 1150 County Road 249. Just real quick about the, it's been like 2 hours ago already when we were talking about you guys, where it was written that you do volunteer work and now it's not written. You might consider it being rewritten because there's lots of new people in this town and other people who don't keep up as much, and they might be interested to know that, in fact, you guys do. It's just for your own self. We in this room know you guys do volunteer work. It's just kind of nice to people who don't know that. I also had a comment I wanted to make about the newsletter. I know it was voted in to be the official newsletter of the town in 2021. So we don't have that newsletter. I really missed it. There are a lot of people who do not have access to the internet. I myself do, but mine's in and out all the time. So I just like that paper coming, that I can go have a piece of paper and write notes on it and that kind of stuff. So since there is an official newsletter, because I know there had been some comments since you guys were put in office that we need an official communication device, and we already have one. It's called the Poetry Post. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Next up, Kevin Sinkovich.
Kevin Sinkovich, Poetry, Texas. Just a couple of things, all good news pretty much. I think probably our potholes in the town are probably as many as we've ever always had. It's just the problem is, you're right, Mayor, that our 10 and 20 pound asphalt fix holes are now turning into 50 and 100 pound asphalt holes. So I'm glad you suggested some extra money, because I think you're going to need that, Mike. So yeah, I'm very glad about that. Also, in talking to Mr. Monroe a few months ago, I was asking about how quickly he could get into a certain roads or whatever, how fast can we get him out? And he said, well, look, I got 20 cities or whatever, and I can't just jump around. I got to do a little time here, a little time here, a little time here, and then you get put into the queue. So, since it's a new group, you might be able to get some favors fast because the roads are in really bad shape. But I'm glad, again, you're not going to have the burden of having to wait another month to get approval for the money. So that was another, I think that's probably a good mix. Number 3, to you, Terry, the culvert, in talking to Mr. Monroe, the SOP for Hunt County, I don't know what it is for Kaufman County, but the citizens bought the culvert initially, and if the culvert caves in, that's what they do, is they cave in, they don't flow anymore. It's on the county's responsibility, even if it's in the town of Poetry, to come out and replace the culvert for free, so it doesn't cost us anything. So I was actually very happy to hear that because it wasn't something we had potentially put into the budget. So you got to contact them, they got to come out. I watched them do it, stick their head in there, say, yep, that sucker caved in right in the center. And then he said, okay, that's on us. And so what they do is they drive by Eagle or whatever and pick up their culvert or wherever they bring the culvert, and they come in and dig it in, and it's their responsibility. After the initial one, it's their responsibility from going forward.
Just for clarification, this isn't a citizen's culvert, this is a culvert for two county road intersections.
Gotcha. I don't know how that one would work, but I was kind of leading up to the next one, which was on Lon Aikens Drive. I took pictures, I can send them to you. There's 3 culverts, 1, 2, then there's lawns, and then I think there's one more after lawns. There's 3 of them there. They're all caved in, and that's the reason I was talking to Monroe about it. So I can send you pictures as they were flooding, so you can know which ones they were, and I'll forward those to you if you would like me to, Terry. Just to touch base on the asphalt situation, you do have 2 approved, because I was kind of keeping up with it because we were doing the trailers, you do have 2 approved, not resolutions, I guess, motions for asphalt right now. So you have at least 1 trailer left for any county, because two motions back, you approved $3,000 or $5,000 for any county wherever the emergency repairs left. Well, you had enough left for one trailer, which was $650, $700. And then you had another one that was for, I think it was for $3,000 that we never even touched yet. That was for Kaufman County. So that's already been approved. You guys already have that. So that adds to what they've given you license to do tonight. Last thing, Tracy, for you, maybe it wasn't for you, Tracy, but bar ditches and trimming of trees, again, it's all, I don't know how it works in Kaufman County, but I did talk to Monroe about it in Hunt County. It's fuel only, and it's almost nothing. It's like, comes out and cuts trees all day, it's $15, you know, it's hardly anything, and it really doesn't require anything of citizens or whatever, so they can jump right on that. So that's my only comments.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, I'll tell you, one of the things, our next speaker up is Tara. You want to start wandering up? One of the things we can do as a community to help this whole roads effort is to brag on our commissioners, because those guys, they run for re-election, they stand in front of a judge and their peers every month at their meetings and things, and if we kind of lift them up, they're going to be more inclined to lift us up. I mean, they're human beings. They thrive on encouragement. Okay, Ms. Tara.
Okay, to clarify, I think instead of having, I think there was a suggestion to have a line item for reimbursement for each council member. Maybe that's needed, maybe it's not, but I think we had some donations of some paper and supplies and things, and maybe that's another option as well. I don't think I was reimbursed for any supplies for like 2 years. I was willing to donate all that. I have been reimbursed once for gasoline though, when I went to Austin for 1 tank of gas. I did have, we had a citizen at the last town hall meeting brought up about a regular type of newsletter to keep the citizens informed. I had to chuckle a little bit. I'm like, I think we already have that. I believe that that's what the Poetry Post is for. It was approved in 2021 as the official newsletter. It is something that I recognize with all the transition. There's been so much, I'm sure that Mayor Mike has been, trying to navigate. There's just a lot, and I know that very well. There's a lot to handle. And so I do hope that that will resume. There are those who do depend on it, and as a government, we're supposed to serve all the citizens, but and there are even those who don't have the high tech, and they don't have. I hear from people all the time. We have terrible internet still, or we can't get online, or some of them don't even have a computer, and they love that paper copy. And so if we're going to serve all the citizens, I think that paper copy is still, in 2025, still desired. And we do mail out around 25 a month, and those are people who've oftentimes requested that newsletter be sent to them. And Anne is very capable of doing that. It wouldn't take her that long. The hard part is just, if you just send her pictures, and just pictures throughout the month would be helpful, because that's a good part of it, right? And it serves as a historical, over time, it serves as a historical document for our town in a matter of respect. And it's concrete, it's there, and it's been kind of interesting to see that over the years, that it is a piece of history for us. I did want to say, we didn't get to speak at the front of the meeting, so I was going to say, I think in the May 29th meeting minutes, maybe someone mentioned this, but I didn't catch it. Representative Brent Money's name was misspelled, so that can be remedied. Also, under Mr. Bryant's conversation from the last meeting, he stated a statement in error. I think that should be corrected. So if God forbid someone's house does burn down, as an example, the owner of a non-conforming lot can indeed rebuild their home up to 150% of the value of the home. And so that, I just wanted to correct that. I think that would put some fear into some people, and it's just, and I know there's a lot of ins and outs, and I just wanted to make it clear that no fear. If you have a non-conforming lot, and God forbid you do have a home burned down, you can rebuild in the current zoning ordinance as is up to 150% of the value of that home. So, that's all.
Okay. Thank you, Tara. Okay, next up is Dennis Jenkins. No, you're not last. There's going to be a couple of people closing for you. You're going to warm them up.
Dennis Jenkins, and I'm at 1600 County Road 249 that we've talked about tonight, and I've heard the word danger about that road, and it is true. And I would invite any of the council members who have the time to come sit in my driveway for about an hour, and you will be convinced, okay? Now, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to read what I have written down here, because my wife told me do not ad lib. So I'm going to go down the script.
Turn the egg timer on. You don't want to go all night, are you?
No, she made me keep it under 3 minutes too, so we should be good.
We're going to check you
All
on
right. So what I'm presenting tonight is a petition from about 16 of my neighbors up and down 249. I took it upon myself to go ask them what they thought about the traffic, and they were willing to sign the petition, and I'll leave that with you tonight, if I may. Let me read. In the past 1 to 2 years, I have gone to Kaufman County Sheriff, constables, and DPS personally about the 50 to 70 mile per hour drivers on our 35 mile per hour road. The DPS officer Hinojosa was patrolling once, and he showed me personally a ticket he had written for 70 miles an hour. One of the signers of my petition said she is afraid to even go to her mailbox because the traffic is so bad. She has 5 children from 12 down to infant. When the constable recently put a speed monitor on 249, I was told by him that they had clocked a vehicle going 84 miles an hour. And I believe we have a record of that somewhere. One of the petition signers has lost 2 dogs at 2 different times. One has lost 2 cats. Another has lost 1 dog. These losses might have been avoided if all the vehicles had been driving at the posted 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. God forbid that we would ever be talking about human loss here, but it certainly could be a reality with what we've been seeing. And here's the part that'll save us some money on the roads, okay? Over the past months, we regularly see 18-wheelers, tanker trucks, hopper trucks, regular cargo trucks, and last week I saw a Bud Light truck coming down our 35-mile-an-hour road, probably going 50 miles an hour. That's tearing up the road really bad. That'll save us some money if we can stop that somehow. I was told by one of the authorities, the constable actually told me this, that GPS, somebody he stopped, he said GPS is showing 249 as a cut-through from 276 to 34. And if I was driving it, I would do the same thing. It's a perfect cut-through. Save you a lot of miles, but it's very dangerous and tearing up our roads. I know we have speed limit signs. We talked about the signs tonight, and I'm thankful for that. But unfortunately, in our culture, signs are not much of a deterrent. They're helpful, and we are asking through this petition for more speed limit signs, weight limit signs, no through truck signs, and no passing signs. There's cars going 60 miles an hour and being passed. And you can sit in my driveway and watch it, particularly in the morning and in the evenings. I've actually gone to D.R. Horton, and I've asked them, would you please tell your contractors to not be driving through here so crazy and so fast. I've got grandkids living next door, two new teen drivers that are getting out on that road. And so I've actually asked them, of course, they can't do anything about it, but I've just tried to do all this individually, so I thought I would bring this to the council and see if you could use your authority some way to get something done about the speed. I'm glad for the road to be fixed, but I'm also almost not glad for the road to be fixed, because if the road gets fixed and there's no real consequences for speeders, and I've heard other people say that. You almost don't want the road fixed. Of course, we really do, but we want it fixed with, also with some reinforcement there of some real consequences. The only deterrent we believe, this is in the petition, is real monetary consequences. The speeding is a real safety threat to playing children, and as I said, to my teen drivers, and the large trucks, of course, are destroying the road. Most of these trucks are going, the big trucks are going over 50 miles an hour. And along with the petition signers, we're asking you to get involved somehow, if there's some way that we can have some kind of coverage where we could have at least, now, whenever I went individually and asked the county sheriff, they would come out, they would sit on the side of the road. I said, you can even sit in my driveway. I'll sit there all day long with you. They would sit on the side of the road and flip on their lights. That doesn't do much for about 10 seconds, they'll slow down. So please, if you can do something, I would appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dennis. It is, just for the statement of fact, it is on my heart, and I've been talking to some constables and others about the possibility. It's actually an interesting revenue opportunity for the town, because we could charge those trucking companies big money for busting that rule that we have on that road about no through trucks. And they're, I laugh when I hear about the Rockwall outer loop. Again, I've said before, we have the outer loop. It's 249, 2458, and then whatever it's called in Rockwall County. So anyway, the council isn't working on it yet necessarily, but I am definitely taking that as one of the things I want to work on, because, I believe you put up a sign, if you don't enforce it, you might as well take the sign down. Signs don't scare people. Robin Followill? We're getting close, guys.
Robin Followill, Poetry, Texas. Like I've said before, I think what Doug is putting together for the notifications for us, for, like you said, if 1565 is closed and all those kinds of things are great and wonderful, and I'm so glad we're having that. That, to me, is more important than a letter. I get the letter's good, but if we can send the letter out and have whatever we have in there to inform people, but the letter's not going to do any bit of good if we send that thing out once a month, and like we had the past few weeks, and 1565 is closed once a week. Having both, I guess, would be good. Honestly, I didn't know that you had to request the letter. I haven't got the letter in a few years, but I'll be honest with you, anything that the Town of Poetry mails out, it never gets sent to my house. That was selective mailing. But I fixed that because now my name's also on the water bill, so we shouldn't have any more issues why I don't get poetry mail at our house. I wanted to thank y'all so much because of how nice and smooth this meeting has been tonight. Everybody has been heard. Everyone seems to be happy, not angry, and, not much of throwing people under the bus. It's just real refreshing and nice to be able to come to a meeting, discuss issues that we have, being heard, and I look forward to being at every one of them now and on lots of volunteer committees.
Okay. Thank you, Robin. We may have to get a smaller egg timer. This could get out of control. Okay, Robin Bowles. Is Robin still here? There you go, Robin. I'm still here. Okay, you're bringing us home. It's all on you.
Oh, no.
No pressure. No pressure.
There's never any pressure. Robin Bowles, poetry. 10327
Poetry
County
City.
Road 2326. So please figure out how to fix that road. My tires are getting really banged up. I appreciate the new counselor and what they're doing. I'm sorry I'm bringing this down because I'm short. I appreciate the old council for what they tried to do.
Amen.
You guys are trying to implement different things. I appreciate that. There's always going to be a struggle between who and what. And I am one of the people that want to look for the good instead of putting people down about what they think. So I'm praying for all of you that it's easier for you than last council because it was sometimes a struggle. Other than that, I hope everything goes the way you guys want it to. Seems like you're trying to get on the right track. Put me down for any of the safety. And that's about all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Robin. I appreciate that. Well, and I'll say again, you know, I said at the town hall, by the way, the mayor can talk whenever they want, so exercising that here. I really am going to try to stick to this idea of not looking back. I mean, we've had our differences, we've had our whatever. I think, and I appreciate the compliments to the council, I think some of this is just maturing. You know, we're maturing as a town. We're kind of going from one end of the spectrum to the other, and where we need to land is somewhere in the middle. Not everybody's going to agree with going to the middle, but that's where we're going, because we can't accommodate everybody. We're going to have to, but, you know, I really want to stay focused on moving forward, moving ahead. We don't, I mean, we need to talk about what's in place and what we've done and honor that where appropriate, or follow the rules, as Jonathan's called us out where appropriate, but we don't want to dwell on the past. We want to dwell on, you know, we need to, the enemy is outside of the boundaries of poetry. The enemy doesn't need to be, and I will fully confess, I have been a part of the problem too, and maybe that's why God told me to run for mayor, so I can get a little bit of it back, because I certainly do from time to time. But I appreciate all the comments. This was a little bit of an experiment tonight. I think it went reasonably well. I know we ran a little bit long, but you know, we're going to try some things. You know, we're not going to cast anything in stone except what Chad gave us. We're going to try some things, and we're going to figure out what works. This is going to continue at the school for a while, because I want everybody that wants to talk to be able to come and show up. And at some point, if the group, you guys start trusting us and you calm down a little bit, you know, we'll go back to our, because as Tara knows, and Kevin and others, moving all this sound equipment around is a pain in the butt. Now, I don't mind doing it because it serves the citizens, but it'd be a whole lot easier to just walk into that little building. But my commitment has been that we're going to stay in a larger venue for a little while, give everybody that wants to talk a chance to talk, and then we'll kind of make decisions. So far as the days are going to be Thursday, third one of the month, but, you know, where we meet and all of that over the next 2 years, it may change up a little bit, because we're just going to kind of see what works best for our town. Not what works best for me or the council, but what works best for the town. So thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I appreciate each and every one of the comments, even the ones that we don't necessarily align on. I've written it all down. We're going to take it to heart, and meeting adjourned.
Good job.